Alan DeYoung has joined.
Scare me to
Hi, Larry.
She's on do one thing.
Sounds like I'll be on there too. At least as a tag along.
You can put it on Wi-Fi. May have to get ordered in.
Oh.
Evening, everybody. We're gonna go live here in a minute. If you want to put your cell phones on silent or turn them off, that'd be great. So we're gonna get started here in just a minute. Thank you for being here tonight. This is very important that you guys participate, so thank you. The February 10th, 2026 regular Planning Commission meeting is called to order. The time is 6 p.m. Before we begin, commissioners, please put away cell phones. If you have personal business during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless you are speaking. Also, when speaking, please state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to attendees, this meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located in the back of council chambers above the clock. Will the planning clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Stafford?
Here.
Commissioner Seals?
Here.
Commissioner Langell?
Here.
Commissioner DeYoung?
Here.
Commissioner Seals, you do have a quorum with Commissioners Stafford, Brown, DeYoung, and Langell in the chambers.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Stafford, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item of business is approval of the agenda. Before changes are discussed, are there conflicts of interest to declare? If the commission would like to discuss anything under the consent agenda, such as the minutes, they need to be removed from the consent agenda and placed under new businesses at this time. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing no changes to the agenda will stand as presented unless objection is raised. Next on the agenda are reports. Do we have a report from our city planner tonight?
Good evening. Wanted to update you about the request for the CUP's information. We are still in the process of gathering that and working with the fire marshal to make sure we have all the information. We should have that to you by next planning commission. And also on the agenda, we have an update from our comp plan, and they were unable to make it out this evening. They got stuck in traffic along with our attorney. So we are going to invite them to come back for the next planning commission so they can be here in person. And that is it for my update report.
Thank you. Do we have a report from the city attorney?
No report, Chair. Other than I'm very sorry I can't be with you tonight. I hit a few accidents on my way out, so I will be seeing you all at the next meeting.
I may need your expertise in our hearing because we have a lot of people here tonight and we may need to go over the rules of who can speak at the quasi-judicial hearing.
Understood. Okay, we will walk through that.
Thank you. Do we have a report from Public Works Director?
Good evening. Eric Shaw, Public Works Director for City of Wasilla. It's my understanding at the last Planning Commission meeting, there was a request to get some updates on water and sewer projects, correct? Great. So I apologize to the two council member in the audience tonight. This is a recap of a presentation I gave yesterday to the City Council. What I'm going to do is start with sewer, water. We'll talk a little bit about roads, and I've got a couple more updates beyond that. So for sewer projects, I'm very excited to say that our sewer comprehensive plan, which is an improved sewer master plan, is out for RFP submittal right now. So it's on the city's procurement website so that qualified consultants can propose on giving us that support that we need as we update the sewer master plan that's over 20 years old. So we will, at this point, we don't have any delays in the submission date, so we're expecting submissions by the 23rd of February, and then it'll go through the RFP review process where we select a consultant for that and get moving on that important document. We are working on the sludge digester project. That's going to increase the capacity of our sludge digestion abilities by about 300%. And so it is moving from the 65% design phase to 95% design. So we've had a bunch of meetings this week with the design consultants to talk about layout, how the plumbing will work. We had controls and it's P&I. Anyway, how the control systems work, turning on valves and pumps and all that stuff today. So a lot of really important design considerations are being made right now. I'll be bringing that design to the council so they can see the build out as well as talk about the cost when we're a little bit closer to 95%. Part of the consultant's job is to provide a cost estimate with the estimating consultant so that we have the right figures going forward. Funding for that is going to be federal monies that we received through Murkowski, plus we are applying for state revolving grants through the state for parts of that, and then there's city monies in there as well. For the discharge project, which is also known as the pilot study, that's where we're looking to increase our permit with the state to discharge up to 500,000 gallons of treated water every day. We are in the land acquisition phase, so we have a right-of-ways team working with the neighbors to the south of the property to acquire some of the abutting wetlands that they own, so that we have the full lower area to treat the rest of that water. There are some appraisals that are going on in the next week or two. We've been reaching out to some of the homeowners that are a little bit harder to get a hold of, so they'll be knocking on doors and talking with the neighbors in the next couple weeks. Any questions on the sewer projects? One of the things I wanted,
just a question on the RFP, on the master plan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to encompass enlarging the sewer system?
Yes.
For all residents?
Well, so it will look at what we can do. There's going to be, much like what we've done with the airport master plan, there'll be a near term, a mid-term, and a long-term plan. So there'll be that forecast of what we need to do for the next 20 years. And so there will be a segment of that plan that is very forward-thinking and talking about where we're not serving the residents of the city and where we might expand to, and then they'll help us forecast what that cost for infrastructure would be.
Okay,
So yeah,
great.
that's
Thank you.
the broad side. The other thing I wanted to mention about sewer was on the operations side, with the low snow and the colder temperatures, we've had an unusually high number of sewer systems freezing. So our crew has been playing a whack-a-mole game, bouncing between frozen sewer systems as alarms go off We have a thaw system that we use, so the staff goes in the manhole and uses a hot seat pressure washer and other thawing techniques to get those systems flowing again. We've been able to get ahead, and we're kind of in a maintenance spot right now, but the number of frozen systems is up 11% from last year, up in, I think we have 150 call-outs right now for frozen systems. So thankfully, we're kind of ahead of the curve, but if we get more sub-zero temperatures, we'll probably see that tick up again.
Question. Commissioner Brown, your plan here for the future looks good, and it appears that you have some good plans on how to improve the sewer for future. Do you have any concerns about the growth of the city right now and the current condition of the sewer and water?
Yes, we are at capacity. So the next pressure that we're going to see is when there's another big development that wants to come in, I'm going to have to play the bad guy and say we're not ready for that yet. So we've been doing what we can do to increase capacity and stay within our confines, but we're at a crossroads right now where we have to get these projects out. One of the things we'll talk about is, the airport project, but as I talk with the administration on the differences between like the FAA as a partner for development and the state and DEC, it's night and day between the FAA being our partner for figuring out how to expand our infrastructure and DEC not being supportive. And so we have to keep pinging them to try to get these projects through. They don't respond. We've been through 2 DEC commissioners. We have them come out to see our plight, and then they're gone. And so we just really have this one-way conversation with DEC as we try to get them to work with us. So it's just been painfully slow as we try to initiate these expansions to our facilities while we still have to meet the regulations. So we're just kind of we're between a rock and a hard place, meeting those upcoming demands with expansion. Moving on to water, we've been doing a lot of work up in the, we call it Zone 4, but it's around Lowe's. It's over by Sun Mountain. So we have the Herman Road well, water tower, and booster station project going forward. And then we also have the water line that's going to go in the Herman Road. So a couple weeks ago, we drilled a well at the property that we own off of the corner of Herman and Meany. And we found water at 220 feet. And we took some samples, and it's marginal water. It's a little high in arsenic right now, but we're going to be installing the screen here in the next couple weeks, and then we'll be doing a flow test, and we'll figure out exactly how much water it produces, and then we'll quantify its quality after that. They call it developing the well. So we'll know if we have a water source that we can use directly in the municipal system, or if it might serve as like a emergency fire backup flow. But we're pretty happy with what we've got so far, and we'll know more about that in the next month or so. And we're also moving into the design phase for that water tower and that booster station. And we'll have more information on that in the next, probably in the early spring. The water line is going to be installed this summer down Herman Road, almost to Quiet Circle. And so that's going to take the rest of the summer, and we'll have that in place. And that's being funded by ARPA money that came through the borough. And so we have a deadline to get that project done and expend those funds by this October. And so we're well on the way to doing that. And then we'll have a phase 2, which will bring the water line from Quiet Circle down to the intersection of Herman and Sun Mountain. So right there at that corner by Ashley's Furniture. And that will be the long-term connection back to that water tower. We'll be using, before phase 2 is done, we'll be using the water lines that are on Tyson Circle in the Sun Mountain development, and that's how it'll connect temporarily, but we'll have a main trunk line that goes all the way down Herman Road. And one of the reasons we're pushing for that is because the state is working for the borough to do the Herman Road extension project, and we need to get that done before that project really kicks off because of the impacts to the schedule. So we'll be installing that before the DOT comes through, because they're still 2 years out just on property acquisition along the right-of-way. That kind of leads to an update on the interconnect. So we have, that project is part of it, but we also have a survey going on both the alignments, the north alignment, which comes off Spruce and goes up to Bogart and connects kind of on the north side of town, and then the southern alignment, which comes off of Seward Meridian and runs down the Parks Highway and connects in over at the hospital in Palmer. And so our consultant is out getting some of the initial survey that helps us identify and nail down the possible costs as we start to develop the cost-benefit analysis for either alignment. And we bring that back to the borough because their support in that project is allowing for higher density along whichever corridor is selected. And so there's a calculus involved with the number of developable acres along either route, and to see what the long-term benefit is for higher density along those corridors, which is what the borough's incentive is for that project. And then our incentive, of course, is to have the redundancy and the resiliency in the water system, where we can support Palmer if they need it, they can support us if we need it, and we know we have that option for higher density commercial development. I talked a little about the DEC revolving fund, but we leverage revenue sources or funding sources for these expensive civil works projects. And so last night, the council approved for us to apply through that revolving loan fund. And so we had to go through, with our attorney's help, we had to go through a packet construction where we brought paperwork showing that if the city chooses, we can assume debt and some other things. And so now we'll take that approval and apply for those revolving funds. And they bring both water and sewer funds. There's some, and you can look at the packet from last night, but there's some loan forgiveness. So there were 3 projects that were provided. One was the sewer project, and then there was more water projects, and then there was a legacy septic tank. And so, for instance, we're asking for $600,000 to fund replacing failing septic tanks, and that's completely forgivable. So we look for a $600,000 coverage for those kinds of projects. So we're looking forward to being able to bring back to the council the actual fund agreement so that they can see what the amortized loan would be and what the term of that loan is. So we should have some documents to talk about with them in the next month or so. And then in the same vein as the sewer comprehensive plan, we'll be putting out the RFP for the water comprehensive plan. The paperwork for the revolving loans took all of our bandwidth. So we got the sewer out, worked on the revolving loan, and now we're going to go back to the water master plan, comprehensive plan. So that will be on the street here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Any water questions?
Yes. 2 questions. One, do you have a projected how many tanks need to be replaced in the next couple of years?
Every time we look, we find more. So we're at a capacity issue for that right now. We know of at least 16 that need to be replaced, and we've run 11 through the that revolving loan request. So yeah, we have dozens and dozens, and it really comes down to once we do the inspections, then we know, and then we automatically have a backlog. So we have about 900 tanks that we have to maintain. And so we will be, based on their age, we'll be replacing tanks for the foreseeable decade.
And do you have a projected date when the interconnect is hoping to be finished?
That's a great question. It's a big project, and it's a regional project. So right now, our goal is to get as much data and do as much research and preliminary engineering as we can with the funding that we've been given and the spending deadline that we have. So we will have a very comprehensive document and have some infrastructure complete by this October. And then we will be using those documents to leverage state and federal funds to keep moving ahead with the project. But we're gonna have some gates where decisions have to be made, which route we select first, or, maybe someday there's 2 routes, but which one we wanna put all of our energy into. And so we will be able to know those, later this year, and then decide what the next segment is. The kind of general project breakdown that I foresee is when a route is picked, then we figure out what maybe an anchor user would be as we kind of bite off segments. So, if we look at the northern route, the borough has 3 schools that are all co-located up at the, where Sewer Meridian's gonna expand up to the technical high school. That's a really good anchor user to maybe make our first shot up there to get them on city water, and then branch out from there. So we're trying to make these planned out segments that make sense so that we get use. We don't want to extend a water line and have no users on it for a long time as we build that out. So we'll be forecasting what it would take to get up there, or if we are missing other anchor users that we should be striving to fund.
Thank you.
On to roads, you're going to hear from Kim Solian with MVP after me, but there's some feedback that they need and some decisions that need to be made for project nominations. Right now, we've already nominated the Peck and Lucille projects. So the Lucille Street needs repaving, and we've nominated the lower section from Parks up to Nelson. And then Peck Street from Bogart up to Spruce is in really sad shape, so we've nominated that too. And there is going to be a request in this next CIP round to provide the $200,000 in match that the MPO needs to make that a project that will be done. So we'll be advocating for that as we go through the CIP project. And then we partnered with the borough for a Safe Streets for All project, and I think the title for that one is, if I recall correctly, Wasilla Middle and High School pedestrian improvements. And so if you imagine Wasilla High School all the way down to the end of Cruzy, where Cruzy meets the Parks Highway, there's projects all along there. And so it involves pathways for the high school and the middle school that are kind of disconnected. It involves adding a sidewalk on East-West Point from McDonald's back to Cars Safeway. And then it involves improvements to the pedestrian tunnel that goes under Parks. And it's a substantial project. They'll be presenting to the council next council meeting. But the match for that, for the city portion, is about $634,000. So we'll be looking to see if we can have support for that through the CIP process as well. And then the Main Street couplet project is very, very close to having their federal highway certification, which is a huge benchmark for that project, because that is when the state DOT signs that they, and proves to the federal highways that they have met all of the federal requirements for that project to be let for bid. So they're shooting to have that done sometime in March so that they can have it out to bid this spring and have a contractor by summer. And we may see some preliminary work this year, but the bulk of it will be next year and the year after that. Any roads questions?
Chairman Seals, I have a question. We recently did away with the downtown overlay. Has DOT been notified that the downtown overlay is no longer in effect in the section that it was involved in?
Yes, I let them know at our last progress meeting. But they're a big ship that doesn't turn around very fast, so nothing has really changed on their planning. One thing that has come up again is some of the historic building considerations for the museum. And so through SHPO, State Historic Office, protection, I think it is, there's some paperwork that the city probably still has to sign because there's some renovation has to happen with the covered area on the museum in the right-of-way. So I'm still trying to get clarification on exactly what they need us to do, but there will probably be a revision to the city's MOU with the state on those historic properties. But that's really the only thing that's holding it up. They just have to finish checking their boxes and take it to the federal highways for the certification.
Thank you.
And then just a couple more updates. So at the airport, we have the big Taxiway Kilo project. It is, it's kind of in paperwork mode right now. They won't do any dirt work until this spring. So they're finalizing their documents. There's a bunch of coordination that has to happen with FAA as we explain what the impacts around the airfield will be for operations. There's safety plans that they have to submit. They're working on a plan to have 2 haul routes around the runway because we want to limit impacts to operations and the number of closures that we have to have on the runway. So they're going to be figuring out how to get around the it's kind of the southeast side of the runway. There's a ditch that prevents trucks, and so they're coming up with a permitting plan to build a temporary road around those impediments so they can stay outside the safety zone and have kind of less impactful hauling. And then we are still working through the property acquisition on the south side of the runway that we need for the runway safety area and the glide slopes. And so there's a large parcel on the other side of Foothills Boulevard, a 20-acre parcel that we're going through the appraisal process right now. So our appraisal team is meeting with them, and they'll be working up an appraisal that addresses a commercial use out there, and they're in the middle of a subdivision process, so we're trying to work with them before it turns into 14 really expensive parcels. And then we've been making systematic improvements to the gates and the cameras and the access control. And so we use a key fob system to have the gates open after hours, and the current system uses an antiquated battery-powered key fob that are really expensive, and the batteries are dying. And so we've moved to a sticker system just like the car washes use. And so we've been putting up signs to let the people, our users know that's changed, and we've sent out emails. And so if you or any of your neighbors have tie downs or hangers at the airport, it's really important that they come in and get those new stickers because the old system will not work anymore. And we've also instituted a tracking system that will help us improve our count for the number of airplanes and the size and style of airplanes that use the airport, because the FAA needs those numbers to justify the runway extension. And as commercial use has increased, we had been struggling to find a way to quantify the number of new commercial users with the right size planes. And so that's been online for a couple weeks now, and it's gathering data based on their transponders, and it seems to be working really well. And then we've also made some operations improvements. Notice to airmen notices are really important, and so we've been doing runway condition assessments every morning, and we've been getting a lot of good feedback from aviation companies that use us as an alternate when weather or conditions in Anchorage aren't good. And so they've been resoundingly happy with getting that information. And it's really, it's multiplied many times the number of planes that have diverted to our airport because we have typically better weather and a better approach. And so that little change has really paid off with more constant users from that group.
Question again, Commissioner Brown again. Is the FAA going to require the city looking at with the changes in the airport, updating your security posture with live physical security?
That's an excellent question. At this point, they're not that concerned. At some point, we're going to have enough operations and enough potential for conflict with users that will want to talk about having an airport manager on site. One of the reasons that we need to control access and know who's there And so that's why we need a reasonable but robust access control. The other thing that we need to do is get to a point where we can reasonably have the gates closed during the days because of security issues, but also just moose getting into the airport. Having the gates open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. means that they have free reign all day long, and we get a lot of moose in there. So we want to have it where the gates are closed, but it's very easy for the approved folks to get in and out, and that was our first step with these new, less expensive stickers. And then it allows us to audit access too. So FAA is happy to see those improvements, but they're not pushing us from a security standpoint. The last thing I wanted to let you know is that in the park side, the council funded a fire fuel reduction program in the last fiscal year. And so part of it is for city properties and part of it's for private properties. And that private side is a program I haven't had a chance to build out yet. But we're going to leverage the low snow year we've had so far, and we're going to have a fire fuel reduction project in the Lake Lucille Park to get in there and deal with the beetle kills and the dead top birch. And so there'll be a bid package coming out in the next few weeks to have a contractor go in and remove those risks before the summer starts so that we aren't impacting summer recreation out there. That's my report. Be happy to answer any other questions that come up.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
That was excellent. Do we now have a report from MVP?
Just give me let's see if I can get the computer to come back up. It seems to, oh no. Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
It's so long.
It's so long, very secure. Very secure. Well, thank you very much for having us tonight. My name's Kim Solian. I'm the Executive Director of Mat-Su Valley Planning for Transportation, and I'm here with my colleagues, Angie Goulding and Carrie Cecil. Thank you for the invite. I have not had the opportunity to speak to the Wasilla Planning Commission before in this role, so it's really nice to be here. I'm going to go over a little bit about what a metropolitan planning organization is, since I haven't been here before. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about who MVP is and the role we serve in our community since we're a new organization. The bulk of what I'm going to talk about, though, is our Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the call for projects, which is a period that we're in right now where we're seeking out project nominations from the city and the borough and community councils about transportation infrastructure projects that they would like to see happen. And I'll get more into that as my presentation goes on. So I will say I can be a fast talker, and so please say slow down if I start to run away with the presentation, and I will try to do that. And it's nice to see you again, Commissioner Brown. We worked on the Arctic Winter Games board together a couple of years ago, and we brought that here. So again, who is MVP and what is a metropolitan planning organization? What is a metropolitan transportation plan, our project nomination period? And then I have a couple slides about some of the projects that we've already put funding towards for the city of Wasilla. So what is a metropolitan planning organization? So we are a federally funded transportation planning and policymaking organization. In 2000, when MPOs are required for all communities or regions that have a population of more than 50,000 people in a contiguous area. And when the 2020 census was certified, we received notice that the greater core area of the Mat-Su borough, including the cities of Palmer and Wasilla combined, had reached that threshold, and we were required to form this new planning organization. We do both short and long-range plans, and our charge is to look at all transportation infrastructure and modes related to vehicular traffic, freight, rail, public transit, bike and pedestrian facilities, and then to also plan for the needs of the future. So we're looking at all modes. We're one of 459 MPOs in the country, and we're the third MPO in Alaska. Fairbanks has an MPO that's very similar to us. We're considered small MPOs, and then Anchorage has an MPO in Anchorage, and their acronym, their name is AMATS. So again, we exist to do transportation planning, and the requirement is that all the federal funding that comes into our region now has to somewhat flow through our organization. So in the past, before we were formed, and before our region had an MPO, the state DOT would receive their annual allocation of federal transportation dollars, and they would decide where in the state to invest those resources. Now that we have an MPO, it means that we have a seat at the table as local governments, and so that we get to have a say in where those transportation infrastructure dollars go, because we know best in our communities what the needs are versus maybe a larger state DOT. So the origins of NPOs flow out of the Eisenhower interstate system that President Eisenhower wanted to see all the major cities across the country connected, and started back in 1954. I think he started granting out funding to state DOTs, and different states started building their segment of the interstate system. And in the enthusiasm of building this new interstate system, the state DOTs forgot to talk to local communities and forgot to make sure that the communities were involved in figuring out where this new interstate would go. And unfortunately, communities were damaged and communities were displaced. And so in the 60s, with a new highway bill, President Kennedy said, we need to do a better job talking to our local governments. When we're investing federal dollars at the local level, the local communities need to have a say. And so that's the origin of metropolitan planning organizations that we have, that we are today. So MVP, our name is a tongue twister. Mat-Su Valley Planning for Transportation is the full name, but we go by MVP because it's fun and easier to say. We are a nonprofit organization. We were formally stood up as an independent entity on Valentine's Day in 2024. So this Friday, I think, if that's Valentine's Day, we'll have our 2-year anniversary as being a full-fledged organization. As I mentioned before, we're federally funded, so the planning funds that we receive to do the long-range plans are pass-through funds that come through the state DOT to us to pay for operations, and then we also receive an allocation of capital funds to support transportation infrastructure projects that also flow through DOT, and they manage the construction projects. We're governed by a 7-member policy board. So the mayor of Wasilla is on our policy board, the mayor of Palmer, the mayor of the Mat-Su Borough, the manager of the Mat-Su Borough, as well as the DOT commissioner designee. Formerly it was Sean Holland, who was the Central Region Director, but he stepped down, so the deputy commissioner of DOT is also on our board. Plus we have 2 tribal governments in our community, so Knik Tribe and Chickaloon Native Village also have seats on our policy board. We also have a 16-member technical committee, and your public works director is on our technical committee, as well as we have other public works directors from the borough and the city of Palmer, and then we have a range of transportation advocates representing roads and rail and freight and trucking, transit, bike and pedestrian infrastructure. So it's a pretty diverse board, but again, all focused on transportation. So our technical committee advises the policy board, kind of like the planning commission advises the city council, and we do a lot of the workshop work with our technical committee, and they make recommendations up to the policy board. So when we were designated as an urban area, that brown shaded area on the map is the urban area. So it's the area that the census determined our population had reached that over 50,000 people threshold. One of the requirements of forming a metropolitan planning organization is that within 1 year of designation, you have to form this new organization with your governance structure, but you also have to define a planning area boundary, which means we have to define the area that we're gonna do all of our planning work in. So the requirement is that we, our planning area boundary include all of the urbanized area, in addition to what we expect to become urbanized over the next 20 years. And so that's that purple or gray shaded line. So that's the area that we're planning within. We did a look at, with the borough's GIS department, with their help, we looked at current and new subdivisions, and we used a Department of Labor forecast that projected how many people over the next, I think 35 years were gonna come into the area, and then figured out how to spread that population around, and that's what we defined as our boundary. We do have the opportunity to adjust our boundary. We know that populations don't always grow like we think they're going to. People don't move where we always think they're going to move, and so within the federal regulations, every 10 years, we have an opportunity to update our boundary if we didn't quite get it right. So as I mentioned, the real work of our organization is long-range planning. And so hearing Eric talk about all the long-range planning that you all have been doing for your water and sewer system and thinking about future needs as the community grows, that's what we're really doing now, and looking at all of those transportation infrastructure needs. So the main plan that we do is a metropolitan transportation plan. It has a 20-plus year horizon. And the expectation is that we are going to look at all the different modes and all the different needs we are going to have over the next 20 years to serve that population who is moving here. We also, following the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which we expect to have our first one finalized in December, we will also be developing a transportation improvement program. So where the long-range plan lists all the projects we think we're gonna do over a 20-year period, the TIP is really the short range, the 4-year project list that we are actually programming funding for and going to actually see projects start happening on the ground. We also do a 2-year work plan that really spells out the work of the staff and then our budget as an organization. And then we're required to have a pretty robust public participation plan, because really the foundation of our organization and our roots come from local control of public funds and accessing the community to make sure the projects that we're moving forward are informed by community voices. And so that's why we have a requirement to have the PPP. So a little more detail about our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Really, it's a long-term look at what we want our transportation system to look like. As I mentioned before, it's a 20-plus year plan. It looks at regional investments for the planning area. We're looking at roads, transit, bike and ped, and freight. We're making sure that the investments are supporting regional goals. It is federally required, and we do update it every 5 years. So though we need to plan for a 25-year horizon, again, things may change, priorities may shift, projects might happen without our support. And so every 5 years, we're updating this plan to make sure that the list of projects is current. So we've completed some steps in the long-range plan, or the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We kicked it off, I believe, in April. So we have completed our vision, goals, and objectives. We have nearly completed the existing conditions report, looking at how is our system functioning? Where is there congestion? Where are there connectivity issues? Where are there safety issues? Where are there breaks in the bike and pedestrian system? Where might there need to be additional or new transit facilities based on what's currently there and what we're seeing on the landscape as our population continues to grow? We did just kick off our public call for projects, our public nomination period, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the next few slides. And we also, on December, I think it was December 1st, kicked off our public portion of the public project nomination period, where we invited community members to take a survey, giving us information about transportation needs and issues. And we also had an interactive comment map where people could leave comments or drop points and let us know some of the infrastructure needs that were important. So we took that information with the existing conditions report and did produce some preliminary project lists that we have provided to our technical committee, and including Eric, to use to help as the city looks at what projects they might want to submit. We thought we'd give a starting point based on the research and what the public has already said. So after the call for projects, we'll evaluate the projects and then draft the MTP, draft the TIP, and hopefully everything gets finalized by December, which is when the federal government says we have to have our projects by. So if we don't complete our MTP, no federal funding can be spent in our urban area. That goes for projects that we may want to fund, but that also means all the DOT projects stop too. So it's really important that we get this plan done. Because the requirement is that all the projects, all the federal funding that's being spent in our urban area need to be listed in our plan, even if the funds that MVP has allocated aren't going to them. So that's why we have to have all the DOT projects listed as well. So we're working hard to meet that goal. So the vision for our Metropolitan Transportation Plan is that we're committed to creating a safe, efficient, multimodal transportation system that fosters reliable and accessible options for all modes of travel, supports the economy, the environment, and promotes healthy communities. And so with that, when we're looking at evaluating projects, we want to make sure that we're seeing projects that are following local land use patterns and connecting where people live to where they work. We want to improve safety for all modes. We want to make sure we're leveraging all funding, so not only the funding that comes into MVP, but supporting our partners to access other discretionary grants to support those projects. We want to maintain the system that we have. We don't want to just build new. We want to increase diverse transportation options. Not everybody has a car or can drive, and so increasing options for public transit and bike and pedestrian facilities is a priority. We want to shorten commute times, and we want to make sure that we're building a resilient network, so we're taking into consideration environmental factors that may impact our network. And all of these goals kind of tie to our scoring matrix. When a project is nominated, we'll run them through a scoring matrix that makes sure we're hitting these goals with those projects. So as I mentioned already, the public engagement piece of the project nomination phase started December 1st. We had an open house and have been making the rounds, doing a road show, talking to the cities, the borough, community councils, RSAs, tribal organizations, whoever would like to invite us to come do a presentation. We've been letting everyone know. We also communicated with community councils in the boundary, letting them know that though they might not nominate a project themselves, that we welcome them to submit resolutions or letters of support for projects, and that we would make sure they get to the DOT or the borough or the right entity. We kicked off the project nominations in January. The nomination packet is in the materials that I provided to you in advance of this meeting, so you would have the full, what the application looks like and what the evaluation criteria is. But those nominations will be submitted online through our website. The Mat-Su Borough GIS Department is hosting an online portal to submit those applications. And then sometime in the spring, March, April, it depends on how many nominations we get and how long that takes. We'll definitely be have the nomination period open for 30 days, but it might be longer depending on how many applications come in. Did I skip a slide? No. Let's see. Like I said, all projects need to be submitted digitally, and project nominators will be asked to, identify the project location, give us a brief description, talk about how the project supports MVP's goals and objectives, a summary of potential funding options. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes slide. So how much money are we talking about? So MVP is allocated about $10 million a year for projects. And with our MTP, we'll be programming for 25 plus years. So that's potentially $25 million. So that's, or $250 million rather. And so that's like a lot of potential projects. And so it's really important that everything you might want to see for the city of Wasilla over the next 25 years get submitted as project ideas for our MTP, so it has the opportunity to get project support. If it's not in our MTP, it won't end up in our TIP and it won't receive funding. We will update every 5 years, but it's good to get all those projects in if we can. So just a quick little summary of types of projects that we'd like to see: intersection improvements, new road construction, road rehabilitation, resurfacing, striping, lighting, increased separated pathways and other, safety measures for non-motorized users. Additional improvements for the transit system, maybe additional bus shelters, so that would expand where people could get the commuter bus to Anchorage. If you don't drive and don't have a car, it's probably hard to get to a park and ride and wait for the commuter bus to Anchorage. So the idea that we could invest in some, bus shelters where people could wait to get that commuter bus would really help folks trying to get to Anchorage. So that's just an example of some of the types of projects that we would accept. And I think I'm going to move into a other phase of the presentation about some of the projects that we've already funded, but I wonder if I should pause to see if there's any questions at this point before going further. Or I can keep going and we can do it at the end. Keep going. So MVP, when we were formed, we were awarded funding starting October 1st, 2023. So we got an initial installment of our, about $7 million of capital funds for 24 and 25. But we weren't a full-fledged MPO yet because we didn't have a metropolitan transportation plan. And so the funding that we received was just kind of sitting there. And the risk was that it would just be spent by DOT because we didn't have our plan in place, so we couldn't program our own projects. So Federal Highways asked us to create something called a program of projects, where the Technical Committee and Policy Board were, we took our allocation of funds for those 2 years and looked at projects that were already in the STIP and then made the state STIP and then made recommendations to allocate some of our funds on projects that we thought were priorities. I did a quick look before the meeting to see if any of the projects would impact the city of Wasilla, and one of them was a pavement preservation project along Bogard from Trunk Road all the way to Wasilla Fishhook. So that we did allocate funding for. I did not look at when the construction timeline is for that one, but we did put funds toward it. We have not selected any projects for fiscal year 26, so we do have our about $8 million set aside for 26, and then we'll get another $8 or $9 million for fiscal year 27. We're holding those in hopes that our MTP will be completed and our TIP will be completed, and we'll have about $16 million to spend in that first year. And I think I answered that other point. A couple other projects, planning level projects that may be of interest to the city of Wasilla. In our program of projects, we did allocate some additional funds to asset management plans to look at all the pavement condition within our planning area boundary, to assess all the signs in our planning area boundary, and then to do an assessment of streetlights and intersections. So for the signs, making sure they are reflective and the right signs are in the right place. So with that one, we would need to assess where they all are or where there are missing signs, and then assess their condition and then decide which ones should be replaced first, second, or third. So that one's probably maybe of interest to the city. And then the street light and intersection management, assessing the lights are, if they are LED lights or not, or energy efficient lights. And so that probably will also be something the city might be interested in. We haven't issued those scopes of work yet, so we haven't started them, but that will be coming later this year. So hopefully when the plan's done, we'll have an inventory of all the signs and all the lights and know which ones are missing or need to be replaced or updated, and can start prioritizing those for funding in future years. The pavement management plan, the DOT is going to take that on for us, and they're working, the Matsu Borough has a consultant that is doing pavement, assessing pavement on borough roads, but We're going to use the same consultant and assess all roads and then be able to prioritize which roads need to be resurfaced first, second, third, again, so we can be prioritizing that in our TIP or in our improvement program in future funding years. And I mentioned the improvement program. So we also, our policy board decided, in addition to having our TIP and adding funding towards individual projects, that they wanted to set aside about $1 million a year for smaller projects that didn't need to be prioritized and ranked, but could be nominated by the cities and the borough. And so Eric Shaw nominated 2 projects that he mentioned to you earlier to repave Lucille and Peck, and this is just a summary of those projects. They're in the middle of scope, schedule, and budget estimating with the DOT. I guess we were hoping that they may start construction next summer, but we're not sure. They ran into some utility issues that may change the timeline with a range of projects. The borough also submitted a number of projects, as well as the city of Palmer, to this program, but I'm just showing the Wasilla projects here. And with that, this is the map of the project, this is the map of the project ideas that we did look at for the city when we were assessing existing conditions, and so that is in your packet. And I don't know if I have the corresponding key. I did not bring the corresponding key, so that was an error on my part, so I can't tell you what these are right now, but I can get that information to you, and Eric might be able to speak to some of them if I couldn't. And that is all I have. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Langell.
Commissioner Langell, through the chair, question on the projects relevant to Wasilla. You've got paving, signs, streets, and you're going to do surveys. When I look at something like this, I say, how much duplication is there? What does the city already have? What does the state have? And now you're going to redo that?
Through Commissioner Seals and is your last name Langell?
Langell.
Langell, to Commissioner Langell. Are you asking about the asset management plans, and the state's doing an asset management plan, and the borough's doing an asset management plan, and you probably already have some of your own? Like, is that a duplication, or is it something different?
Well, on page 60, it says MVP projects relevant to Wasilla.
So this is like a header slide, and I just wanted to let you know that we were doing some asset management plans, and those were the 3 that we have listed so far in our program of projects. So I think these will become, for the city of Wasilla, and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, if we do a good job and they're a useful tool, the city of Wasilla won't have to do another sign management plan or a lighting management plan or a pavement management plan for the city. You'll be able to use ours.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. I'm very excited for all 3 projects.
Commissioner Brown, what mechanism are you getting the word out to the public and how they can respond back? Because a lot of the public don't know this exists.
Excellent question through Commissioner Seals to Commissioner Brown. So we have, we're a new organization, so we are still kind of getting the word out about who we are. We do have a website that lists a bunch of ways for folks to engage. We also have a Facebook account and Instagram account where we've been boosting ads to let people know how to get involved, where to get involved, when to come see us do a presentation. We had the survey hosted on the borough website along with the public comment map, and we were advertising that. We also have a pretty robust email list that we're trying not to spam people, but at least every couple of weeks we're sending out notifications. I think we're up to maybe 300 individuals on that email list. And then we also did a deep dive of, community council contacts, all the RSA contacts, anybody involved in transportation, from engineering firms to health and human service organizations to bike and pedestrian groups, to also add those folks to our email list. So that's the process that we're using right now to let people know who we are, and coming to meetings like this so you all have connections, and being able to present to you all also helps us get the word out through having your packets be public. But we could always do better.
And you said the surveys of traffic and stuff, are you relying on the borough or the city to tell you the congested areas, or are you doing an independent group to do surveys of traffic areas, like the traffic problem going through Wasilla?
Oh, the Parks Highway, yes. I'm sorry. So we have hired a consulting firm who has a couple subs. So Respect Engineers is the lead consultant on our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And they have also brought onto their team some transportation planners from HDR and another firm called RSG. And so they are the ones that are doing a lot of the data analysis and looking at traffic counts, travel time delays related to congestion, crash data, some of the existing pavement data that we have, connectivity issues. So they're looking at all that, and it's in our existing conditions report. That hasn't been finalized, but hopefully within the next couple of months it will be finalized and will be made public on our website, that will document by mode. These are all the modes of transportation we have in the region, and these are the major issues within each mode based on the data. Hopefully that information also helps target projects and make sure that we're bringing projects into our MTP that are going to solve some of the problems.
Thank you.
One more question.
Go ahead.
On page, I think it's 33 in this fine print. Either it's 23 or 33. The 4 maps, the road ownership, is that available to the public?
We could certainly make it available. I think it's a map that we had the Matsu Borough GIS department make for us. I'm turning to Carrie because she's our data person on the team.
Yeah, so it is a map that we certainly can make available on our own website, but we derive that data from the borough that has it on one of their many mappers.
Okay, if it's available to the borough.
It is available, certainly, but we will also take that note to.
Carrie's taking notes on all of your questions, so we'll send a follow-up, and if there's any information that you're requesting, we'll make sure to get it to you.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Chair Seals, I have a question. Can you guys go back in time? Because for many years, we've suffered with decisions of the past. I hate to see that translate into the future here. And my comment on public awareness, I'm very familiar and friends with quite a few of the people on your board, and I thought it was tied into what's going on in the valley, and it wasn't until you made your presentation that I actually understood what was going on here. So public awareness is probably going to be your biggest tool, because while some people want bike paths and sidewalks, other people, they just look at our sidewalks after a heavy snow and our bike paths through the winter. People want to get back and forth to work. So I think transparency and doing all these things is going to be very valuable, because I don't want to be the person that just found out about it a month ago and the rest of the people in the valley don't know about it. So awareness for the public is going to be key to your success. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great presentation. We are now at persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the Planning Commission. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the commission or administration. Anyone wishing to step forward may do so at this time. However, City Attorney, Holly? Are you with me, Holly? Okay. Well, as I understand things in this, we're having a quasi-judicial hearing this evening. If you presented comments that were received in time, you are allowed to speak at the hearing. If you did not get your comments in time for the meeting, this would be your opportunity to speak. So just want to make sure everybody's on the same page here. So welcome. Please write your name and contact information on the sign-up sheet. And when you're finished, state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Do we have any persons to speak?
Well, this is back here with people on it.
That's, could be for the quasi-judicial hearing. Thank you.
Or is this just an attendance sheet? I don't know.
I think this is just attendance sheet. So if you submitted a comment during the quasi-judicial hearing, you will have a chance to speak. Otherwise, this would be your chance to speak. And Hans Nordstrom, did you present comments?
I did not put a comment in, no.
This would be your time to speak. Like I said, welcome.
Thank
Please
you.
write your name and contact information on the sign-up sheet. When you're finished, state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
I do have a question about this. It says city resident. I'm not a resident of the city, but I run a business in the city.
Stakeholder.
Your stakeholder.
Stakeholder, okay. Okay, my name's Hans Nordstrom. I run a business here in the Valley. I've been here for 20 plus years. I have a business that is adjacent to the property for the, I believe the quasi hearing, the CU 26 or whatever that may be. So my property is adjacent to that. I have what I would call some pretty serious reservations in opposition to the proposed property. I personally don't, first off, want to look at a 24-unit apartment complex right outside of my business. I think that that's going to be an eyesore and it's going to be a real problem with the value of my property, even though they said in their statement that they didn't think it was. I'm also worried after hearing the Public Works person talking about that. I've already had septic issues in my building, or sewer issues, if you will. And considering he said they're already at capacity, I don't really look forward to having more issues because I have this unit next to my building. I've got a lot of things that I was concerned about. I'm concerned about parking. I mean, I know they looked at it and I looked at the plan. It looked like there were about 50 spaces, which is probably 2 per unit. I don't know that that's enough. I don't know what was usually required, but I'm concerned about that, and snow removal. I mean, there's a lot of things in here that I'm worried about. I'm worried about potential crime. We've already had issues with homeless people in the area. I don't think that this would decrease the number of people that are utilizing the area, in my opinion. And so I'm concerned about a lot of things with this proposed project. Other than that, you know, I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate the service that you do for us, but I really have some serious reservations about this proposed apartment complex. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope I don't mess this up. Michael
Fugier.
Fugier, thank you. Do you, oh, you have your comments, so you. Yeah.
Evening, everybody. My name's Michael Fugier, and I have been here in Wasilla for 21 years now. Been in the same place, Lakeside Terrace Townhouses, which is right off Lake Shore there, very close to where this project is going to happen. My first thing is the property is zoned commercial, and there's not a lot of space there that I think on that piece of property for 24 units. And it was said before here for the parking, that there's going to be some problems with that. We already have traffic problems along Lake Shore there, in that when they put up the light in Peck, people started going around the Peck exit there, you know. So they're speeding through our neighborhood all the time. Previously, I've worked with the city and we put in speed humps, which have helped a little. But right at the corner of this property where it's gonna be is a place that should have four-way stop signs put in it to get the traffic slowed down in that area. The roads on Lake Shore are offset that if you come down your one street, you're going to go straight into the person coming the other direction, coming from either side. So that's kind of a danger in there. It's a wonderful area to live in because it's so quiet because of the bank, the churches, the high school, the junior high, the med center, all that stuff. So it's always been very nice. A little concerned about renters. In our association, we've had problems with renters in the past, so you know we've seen what can go on there. We have multiple residents up there that really do oppose this project. Couldn't get them to come in yet, and it was too late for me to get the form to them to continue. The last thing I think I've got is the infrastructure problems that I really do see happening in that area, trying to get water to it. We've already got water pressure problems in our neighborhood there. And then the sewer, we had a major project. We have 76 units in Lakeside Terrace Townhouses, and we added the last 25 units to it. And it seemed like that was close to what the limit was going to be, to what that sewer system down in there is going to be able to handle. So that's it for me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Holly, I hear we had a problem. You're with us now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Oh,
I think-
all right. Wonderful.
I think we figured out a way to handle this situation, but now that we have you back in communication, if I need you, I will definitely call you. Thank you.
Okay, well, actually, Chair, I was going to make a recommendation
Okay.
based on the fact that I think we're in new territory, right? And while a hearing is held in the public, it really is a hearing between the applicant and the applicant applies for the conditional use permit, and the commission determines whether or not that meets the criteria. And the public has the ability to participate by putting in written comment, right? And then they can participate and they actually get allotted time during the hearing. However, this is new for Wasilla, and under the code, the commission chair can allow for consideration of statements made at the hearing. And given that that is what was done, for decades before, I think it is appropriate if the chair wants to say that the public comments regarding the quasi-judicial hearing will be considered at the hearing, and that allows the applicant a chance to respond to those comments as well. So that is an option. And I know it's a little different, but that's using that flexibility under 16.115.030.
So I'm understanding that even though people didn't get their written comments in time, I can allow them to speak during the hearing?
Yes. Well, no, I wouldn't allow them to speak during the hearing. At this stage, because I couldn't get in there. But I would just simply take the full public comment now, because it would be the same time period, and simply say that the public comment period from the persons to be heard will become a part of the record of the hearing, and that way the applicant can respond to those comments, and those comments can be considered by the commission. Because I suspect that the commission it will be hard for them not to consider those comments, right? And I suspect that the applicant, may have things to say in response to the comments. So I think because of the way this played out, just because the public is used to being able to participate by giving comments at the hearing on the conditional use permit, this is the best way to protect everybody's due process, right? But the planning commission, I'm sorry, and I think I said the chair, the planning commission needs to make that decision. So the planning commission can decide that we're going to stick to, only comments submitted before the hearing. Only people submitting comments before the hearing can submit comments on the quasi-judicial hearing, or it can decide that, given that this is the first time that we're doing this, they will take the public comments on the hearing and allow those to be considered.
So basically, I could suspend comments in this public participation area that have to deal with the hearing, and just have people that are just wanting to speak to the commission?
Yes, I think you can just simply consider these comments oral argument at the hearing. That's all you would do. It's just say, ideally I would have been able to tell you to just hold off and tell them that the commission could make a determination. So, I guess that's the first. If the commission wants to make a determination that public comments regarding the quasi-judicial hearing constitute oral argument at the hearing, right? And that a person need not have submitted written position statements before the hearing, then that's appropriate under 16.115.030.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Brown, I move that we continue with the public hearing as we go on right now, with the understanding that the applicant does have the ability to respond to any comments he heard during this time.
Do we have a second?
Commissioner Stafford, I'll second that.
Is there any objection?
Object. I truly feel that the public hasn't had the opportunity to learn about all of the changes made by the city in our codes. And they should be given the right at this point until the city can show that the public has been informed of all of the changes. They should be allowed to speak during the hearing.
Well, I just had a motion.
Well, you could do,
Go ahead, Holly.
well, I mean, I'm not trying to complicate things, but it's better to get it right than get it clean, right? So it's fine to do that too. Basically, this is the language that unless otherwise determined by the Planning Commission, only persons who present written position statements to the commission may present oral argument at the hearing. So I think what you can do, we've had 2 people submit comments so far, so you can make a motion. I think Commissioner Brown's comment ensures that those statements are treated like oral arguments at the hearing. So if you wanted to, you could simply incorporate those into the hearing and the hearing record, or you can just say, we would ask that others do not make comments at this time, and make a motion to allow them to present oral argument at the hearing. And my only worry with that is we have 2 people who have made comments who may feel that they want to restate their comments, later, and then they will be given, 3 additional minutes, but that I think is a fair and reasonable result. So, that's fine if that's the result. Most importantly, we are going to have a quasi-judicial hearing, and I suspect that the commission will not be able to unhear these comments, and so they will be considering them, whether they say they're considering them or not. That's the reality, right? And so I want to make sure that the record reflects everything that is heard and that the applicant has an opportunity to address those comments.
And this Commissioner Brown again, the reason I made the motion is there's a law in the book that says what we can and can't do. By having a open public hearing right now, anybody can get up and talk about anything. We can't stop them from talking about anything. And I think we should continue with that. And the applicant is able to hear what's being said. And my motion had a clause that he can respond to anything, he or she can respond to anything that he hears. But I don't think we should try to bypass the law, because if we do it this time, what about the next quasi hearing we have? Are we gonna say that's too early? At some point, you gotta draw a line in the sand, and the line has been drawn. So I move that we continue with the public hearing that you're having right now, and then we'll move on to the quasi judicial hearing.
Mr.
But,
Chair,
Mr. Brown, the one thing is that a person to be heard is a person to be heard on legislative agenda items, not on the quasi-judicial hearing.
yes.
And that's a public hearing for an ordinance or resolution is, if you have a hearing on one of those, is one thing. And that's all I'm trying to do. Like the intent was to move the city towards that difference. So we're protecting the due process rights of hearing participants. So so we should eventually move to a place where persons to be heard is not an opportunity to talk about a quasi-judicial hearing and put evidence into the record that the applicant isn't expecting, doesn't know that's coming, and can't prepare for it, right? So
That is correct. And my motion was not to consider those things we're hearing. My motion was with the aspect that we are at persons to be heard. And my understanding, person to be heard can get up and talk about any subject under the sun for 3 minutes.
Except it's very clear for items not scheduled for quasi-judicial hearings.
yeah. So it's not supposed to be for quasi-judicial
Okay.
hearing.
But then I withdraw my motion, and then I suggest that we follow the law.
Yeah, and the great thing is you have there's discretion here because the commission is the decision maker. So the language that says unless otherwise determined by the planning commission allows the planning commission to anticipate the need to allow members of the public to submit oral arguments. So I think making sure that you limit it, and then ideally continuing it in the quasi judicial hearing is the best approach here, given the reality.
The sheet of paper we were given says we don't have to submit written, and we can talk today. That's what that sheet of paper
Notice,
into
public
it.
notice that was mailed to us at our residence.
And see, the one we got.
Mr. Chair, did you remove your,
I withdrew my motion.
I would move that the commission allow public comments during the quasi judicial hearing on this matter.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, can I hear the motion again? I was reading the language, and they're right, the language on the notice that was sent out does say, the public may provide testimony in person at the meeting. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. So that's the language that they received. So can I hear the motion again?
I moved that the commission allows public comments during the quasi judicial hearing on CU 2601.
I would second that. So just for clarification, so we would stop taking public comments on this issue for now, and then when we get to that item on the agenda is when we would take those public comments.
Correct.
And then, yeah, so I would second that.
You have to accept the motion first.
And the only thing that I would add is that when you do get there, the two individuals that gave comment should be allowed to, if they, the commission should consider allowing them to reiterate or restate their comments, just so we have a clean record in the event of an appeal.
Agreed.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I'll have the clerk call for a roll call vote.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Seals?
Yes.
Commissioner Langell?
Yes.
Commissioner DeYoung?
Yes.
The motion to allow comments during the quasi-judicial hearing for CU 2601 and allow participation from persons to be heard during the quasi-judicial hearing is approved.
I think we should ask, does anybody else got anything other than?
So, does anybody else have anything to discuss besides the CUP that is before us tonight? Tim Johnson, please come forward.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate this. And Holly, I'm not speaking directly at 2601, but I'm going to give general comments to things to consider. And again, I'm speaking only as a citizen, not in any other capacity. The comments that I have contain to the conditional use permits for zoned property in general. We've had 2 this month so far, and there's probably others scheduled that I can think of because I've actually seen surveying going on. In general, this gives me a concern. The concern is this. We're starting our budget season for 2027, and it started off with a bang. Our financial director had Wasilla says, oh, guess what? Our sales tax revenue is flat for 2026. Our costs, because of contracts, gas, oil, and whatever, are going up. One's flat, one's going up, and we can imagine what's going to happen. The city is financed entirely by sales tax, not property tax. Sales tax is generated by commercial property, not residential property. In fact, to make matters worse, residential property only adds immediate cost to the city. Sewer, water are enterprise funds. Yes, they are partially paid for by the usage fees, but it's highly subsidized by the city. I don't exactly know the percentage, but I think it's on the order of 60-40. So when we take out of our inventory commercial property and put it into residential property, we have removed the ability for future revenue to be coming into the city, because once a residential property is up, we're not going to ask them to remove the houses and put in commercial properties there. That becomes very difficult. It's a one-way street. So what I would like us to do is to consider that we've got a comp plan coming up, which will give us a long-range plan where we can better make choices in terms of where commercial property is and where residential property is in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call for a 10-minute recess. We're going to take a recess for 10 minutes. We'll be back.
Too many old men on this.
I can walk after 10 feet. What? Only when I needed her.
Yeah, I know, I'm thinking I should go home.
Yes.
now back on the record. Is there anybody wishing to speak on anything besides the quasi-judicial hearing? Okay. Step forward. Write your name on the contact sheet, state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
This is what you want to speak
Hello, my name's Rory, and I came before this group, and I think I've spoken at a couple of these, but one of the things that I'd like to bring up that doesn't really, am I too close, am I too far here? I hear my noise, okay, all right. So due to a planning error, what's new, Peck Street easement ended up kind of in limbo again. And I just kind of want to bring it up again about how it could benefit the public greatly by having access to our namesake lake. The current resident is a Matsu Borough resident. They're not a City of Wasilla resident. And, it'd be a bunch of hoops and all this stuff, but it would be really cool to finish the Cottonwood Creek trail on Wasilla Lake that's not Wasilla City Public Park. There'd be some hoops for it, but I think bringing it into Wasilla City land would be a net positive overall, as opposed to where it is right now, which is limbo, and then you get campers in limbo, right? So you got trees, you got kind of a wonky turn and curve because of it, and they've got, it's a little chaotic. So if we brought into the fold this piece of land and Wasilla said, hey, we own this, we want to take domicile of this, sky's the limit. We could do a lot of stuff with it. You could do pedestrian access to the lake. We could just improve overall, rather than just saying, well, this isn't my game. So, because right now as it stands, we're talking about Peck a little bit. You take that corner from Lakeshore and you take a curve on your right-hand side, that's 80 feet of publicly owned land that somebody else parks their RV in, they plant grass, they do all sorts of stuff. And if you walk down there, it's a little bit more contentious than it needs to be. So it's just one of those things that's in limbo. My phone number's down here. If you give me a ring, a little bit of a heads up, I'll take you for a stroll. We'll go check it out. I think it would be super sweet to be able to launch my kayak and walk around. There'd definitely be some cons, but primarily the homeless people, which shouldn't be able to walk around anyway. But if we could clean that up a little bit, we could have kind of a sweet utopian empire on that side of the road, which has little to no infrastructure as compared to this side of the road. So that's all I've got, man. Peck Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is a different one. I can speak on this one too.
Okay.
Already got my name, or you need it again?
Nope.
Okay. Hello, I'm Michael Fugere again, and I have lived there in Lakeside Terrace, which is up off of the north side of Lakeshore, and we are looking at the end of the lake right down there. It's a view right out of my window. At the end of the block is Peck Street. So we go down there, and like I said, I was told 21 years ago when I bought the unit that there was access there. And there's true, it is Wasilla access, but the landowners on either side have been contentious about, like Rory was saying there, just going down through there, and they'll get mad at you. Some kids went down there and were fishing, and they called the cops on them to get them out of there. So it would be really nice. I don't see it as a big parking area. We have 76 units, 76 owners in Lakeside Terrace itself. And we could possibly all use that. And, we would not have to have a parking issue. But it'd be really nice to have access to the lake there. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Larry Denick. I'm in the same lakeside complex. I'll second that, what Mike says. There is precedent to that over in Big Lake. When you, how to explain, before you get to the bridge that goes over the creek there, the road that goes to the right, it goes, I have a friend of mine who lives back on that, it goes to a cul-de-sac back there, and there's homes on there. And between my friend's home on one of the corners of the cul-de-sac and the property next to it, the borough, I would assume, put chain link fencing down through basically exactly what the guys are talking about, where the borough again owns access to that river, lagoon, whatever comes out of Big Lake, and then it filters down into the creek going underneath the highway there. And they did build a chain link fence there that defines that right away for public access so people can go down there and launch a boat. And that would work. I could show you on a Google map where it is, but it has been done. And it doesn't seem like anyone out there in that neighborhood has any complaints on it because that has been defined. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak on the non-quasi judicial item tonight? Hearing none, public portion is closed. Next item of business is approval of the minutes. Would the planning clerk please read the items for approval under approval of the minutes into record?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. We have the regular meeting minutes for January 13th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Commissioner Brown moves to accept the regular minute meetings from January 13th, 2026.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Stafford, second.
Is there any discussion? With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call for a roll call vote to approve the minutes for January 13th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Seals?
Yes.
Commissioner Langell?
Yes.
Commissioner DeYoung? Oh, let me just check one thing. Oh, Commissioner DeYoung, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, what is your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. The regular meeting minutes for the January 13th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting are approved.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody's consideration of our small debacle tonight. Next on the agenda is quasi-judicial hearing. Will the planning clerk please read the agenda item under the quasi-judicial hearings?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Tonight we have conditional use permit 2601, resolution number 2602. Let me go back off of my script. Approving a conditional use permit for a 24-unit multifamily residential development in the commercial zoning district. The applicant is Jody Dayton with Byler Contracting, although we do have other representatives here this evening. The lot area is 1.27 acres approximately, and the location is 985 East USA Circle in Wasilla, Alaska 99654. Ray Dawn Development Phase 1, RSB Block 1, Lot 1 or Lot 3A. And the current zoning is commercial.
Thank you. Will the city planner please provide a report?
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jennifer King, or sorry, Hillier, that was my maiden name. I am the city planner. As Julia covered a lot of it with the introduction there, this is a conditional use permit for a 24-unit multifamily development It is zoned commercial. In the commercial zoning, there is, it is allowed by a CUP to have multifamily residential. So this is allowed by CUP, which is why we're here tonight. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. I'm not gonna go through the whole long report unless you would like me to. I was gonna give you a high-level summary and we can go into it as needed, was my thinking on this. If that's acceptable.
That would be acceptable.
Okay. So the site is at the edge of commercial, at the very edge of the commercial, meeting up to multifamily that's on the west side of the street. So it's not it's in character. It's not so out of place as it might seem. It's not like it's we're putting a 24 unit like multifamily development in the middle of a whole bunch of businesses. So it is right next to denser housing developments, some of which are PUDs, some are older, that are smaller lots that have been allowed to have smaller setbacks. One of the topics that came up, one of the concerns was the lot size and being able to fit everything on it, and it does fit and meet our requirements for a site plan. They do have enough room for snow removal. They have, and it is 2 parking spaces per unit, so the 50 is accurate. They do also have room for landscaping. They'll have access, 2 access points onto the site. And they meet all of our setback requirements, so it does fit there. And as far as the infrastructure goes, after speaking with Public Works, that is something that they believe would be possible, in spite of the report earlier. But there can be things done to make that work. Also, as far as the streets go, the streets were built for commercial use. And they believe that they can handle this amount of additional traffic. They were built to handle this amount of traffic. It would be a density change. There would be more people. There always is when you put in new housing. It's not, or it would be if it was a new business. But these streets are built to handle that amount of traffic. The other, give me 1 second. Those were the main ones. But we did find, as going through the Title 16 conditional use criteria, that it does meet all of the criteria for conditional use. So in light of that, staff recommends approval subject to the conditions that we have in the staff report. And I am open for further questions. But those are really the highlights.
Commissioner Lanchell, through the chair to the planner.
Go ahead.
On the parking, it's designated 2 spaces per apartment, which is covered. What about handicap parking?
They are required to have one handicap spot per 25 parking spaces, and they do have 2.
So we have 3.
You have 3.
There are 3? We didn't get the full packet like we normally, the plans, so it was hard to figure out.
No, that should have been part of that. I'm sorry if it was not.
No,
Page 126 of 195 shows the parking plan, and it shows 3 handicap spots. Yeah, 126 of 195.
Thank you.
Okay, should have used my magnifying glass. And the other question I would have is, as far as the driveway permits, DOT has said there's no problem with the 2 driveways required.
It wouldn't be DOT, it would be a Public Works, and is that correct? Yeah.
Oh, is it?
They're the ones that issue the driveway permits, and those are acceptable.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair to the planner, maybe it would be good to go and over the conditions.
Sure.
I think that would probably be highly warranted for this evening.
The conditions for this permit would be, all development on the site shall substantially comply with the approved site plan and supporting materials, except as modified by these conditions of approval. Any proposed changes to the approved plan shall be submitted to the city planner for review. Minor revisions may be approved administratively by the city planner. All other changes shall require approval of an amendment to the conditional use permit. Prior to the commencement of construction, the applicant shall meet with the planning staff and applicable city departments and agencies to review post-permit and pre-construction requirements and coordination items. Number 3, the applicant shall complete final construction plans, shall submit complete final construction plans to the planning department and Central Matsu Fire Department, Fire Marshal for review and approval prior to the construction. 4, prior to occupancy, the applicant shall obtain a certificate of approval from the Fire Marshal confirming that the development complies with all applicable building and fire codes. 5, prior to occupancy, planning staff shall conduct a site visit to verify that development has been completed in a substantial conformance with the approved plans and conditions of approval. 6, the applicant shall successfully apply for and obtain approval of all required utility permits, including water and sewer permits prior to occupancy. 7, the applicant shall obtain 2 driveway permits through Public Works for the site access onto East USA Circle and East Lakeshore Avenue in accordance with city standards. 8, upon completion of construction, the applicant shall submit as-built surveyor stamped plans to the planning department and schedule a post-construction meeting with the planning staff to confirm compliance with the approved plans and conditions of approval. 9, the applicant shall comply with all applicable provisions of Title 16 of the Wasilla Municipal Code as amended.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown, I'm a little concerned with prior knowledge and what we heard tonight about a project of this size, how it's going to affect our sewer program. And I know we have future plans to improve our water and sewer program, but as it currently stands, I'm concerned that this is going to put a heavy burden on an aging system.
In my discussions with Public Works, they did not seem to, I just spoke with Eric, well, before this and before, just to confirm, but he stated that there is no issues with that, but he's ready to speak on that for you if you would like.
And if he could address, and I don't know whether we are allowed to use what we heard earlier.
It's going to be included.
Yeah, is that if someone is already complaining, about sewer and water problems without this, so if he could address that.
Through the chair, Holly, did you want to say something?
Oh, only that, yes, you can address them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I apologize if my comments during my presentation kind of spooked the planning commission. So it is to be known that a large development like another hotel, I'd lose sleep. We have reviewed this through the process. We would have written comments in opposition to this if we felt that was necessary. Residential sewer service is not the same pressure that a large commercial, especially a large hotel, would place on our system. We are, bumping up against the comfort level as a city as a whole, but I think the comments about sewer and water service in this area are based on individual infrastructure, not the entire system as a whole. So I'll just speak to kind of the situation that we have locally. Our system has common failure points at each home or facility based on its step system. And that's because they have so many moving parts. They're always in a state of some sort of failure. For instance, the freeze-ups that I talked about in general are because residential systems don't have that much flow and they can freeze up pretty easily. So we've been responding to a lot of those low flow situations. So based on the size of this sewer system and the use that we see in residential, this addition to our system does not cause us to have a position where we would reject it. So we have met before this COP came to you and talked about enough capacity to approve it in our eyes.
Chair Seals has a comment to Public Works. I'm trying to run through my head what you said earlier and what you just said. A commercial bank is not going to have the amount of sewer flow that a 25-unit complex will have. A dentist's office or two dentist's office is probably not going to have the same flow. So we're talking flow way in addition to the surrounding businesses. So
When we look at, through the chair, when we look at sewer usage and when the designers for this project do the calculations so that we can meet state requirements, it really comes down to the size of the tank. And so this, when we compare, in general, when we talk about larger commercial, they have enormous tanks. This is on the order of it's just a slightly larger residential tank because of the flow calculations. When we see, especially commercial entities such as stores, the amount of water they use because of the number of people through those doors, it's substantially higher than residential. Because most of the time residential is empty when people go to work. And so it's just morning and evening water usage that puts strain on the septic sizing. It's not, 8 to 9 in commercial use, that sort of thing.
thank you for clarifying that for me. At this time, would the applicant owner like to speak on application for conditional use permit 26-01?
Good evening. My name is Dan Steiner. Sorry, that's echoing. I'm a professional licensed civil engineer in the state of Alaska. I've been contacted by the owner and the developers to do the civil engineering on this. So yes, I come up here and talk about the project a little bit. So hopefully some of the things I say can maybe address some of the things we've already heard. And we may get some additional comments. Will we have a chance after the comments again to come up? Okay. And the owner's back there. He asked me to speak. So if I say something incorrect, let me know. These are going to be considered luxury apartments. And so the renters that they will be targeting will be professionals. And because of that, the clients that should be there hopefully will take a little pride in their appearances as far as the site. It shouldn't attract people who hopefully would cause issues with the surrounding neighborhood. I don't know how to say that and not sound like a jerk, but does that make sense? So these are going to be higher end apartments. They'll be maintained. They will be really nice. Of course, I'm not the architect, but I have seen some of the renderings, and it will match very well the surrounding neighborhood. It'll look really nice. This is a little larger lot for something like this than we usually have to work with, so there's definitely adequate room for parking. There's 24 units, so we would we would need 48. I think we have 52 parking spaces, and there's room to add a few more if we need to. I mentioned earlier, there's lots of room for snow storage, for landscaping, to address any drainage issues. Again, we would default to Public Works as far as the capacity for the water and the sewer system. But based on what they've said, these should not cause any issues. So I think that this site will actually fit in very well in this neighborhood. And I would think that it would also attract additional customers to the businesses that are already there. I think this would be a good fit. It is a wonderful location for something like this, as far as access to everything that the city has. It's close to downtown. It's within walking distance of a lot of the services that people would need. This should be a really nice addition to the neighborhood. I know some people have talked a little bit about some traffic issues on Lakeshore Avenue, and we can't really address those. That would be more of a City of Wasilla thing, but this, again, it's not overwhelming. As they pointed out, these roads have been designed for commercial units, which are typically, roads that are designed for commercial areas are typically larger than residential roads. So there should be plenty of capacity to handle the additional traffic that this would attract. I hope this gets approved. I'm excited to work on this project. So, do you have any questions?
I'll have you back up.
Question.
Okay.
I mean, are we allowed questions?
Well, we're going to in a few.
Oh, okay. Well,
So we'll answer questions at the end then? Is that, okay, super.
You'll be back, have a chance to come back up.
All right, thank you.
That way we have everybody's comments on the table so that they can all be addressed. Thank you. The public comments, The public comments portion of the public hearing is now open for application for conditional use permit 2601. Only persons who have submitted written arguments to the Planning Commission prior to the meeting may present oral arguments at a quasi-judicial hearing before the commission. However, due to circumstances, especially what it says on the actual sheet here, it's going to be a little different tonight. So we've already had 2 people come up and speak. I can give them 2 minutes more for Mr. Nordstrom and Michael Flugie. I can give you 2 minutes more.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'll just rehash what I already said. I guess you can go back to that. In terms of other things that maybe have been brought up, listening to the city planner saying that this would fit in with it being not necessarily just commercial spaces. Well, I would disagree with that. You have a large hospital space there. You have my dental office, and you have 2 banks there, and that's really the only buildings in the area, unless you go toward these other people's apartment complexes and townhomes. And then the other issue I have is, that I didn't address before, is I would say that I believe snow removal, I looked at it on the schematic that they gave us, I believe snow removal is likely to be an issue, because I can say that the city plows a lot of snow to the back end of that cul-de-sac already. And I think piling up more snow back there, because it's quite a large parking lot, may become an issue.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Michael, do you have anything to say in your 2 minutes?
Do I reread, or is the other one gonna work?
Well, you got 2 minutes.
I got 2 minutes. Okay. Name's Michael Fugier, and I'm a resident at Lakeside Terrace Townhouses, which is between Peck Street and Lakeshore Drive. Been up there for 21 years. The property that they wish to build this units on is commercial property, and evidently, from what we've heard there, there's a possibility that it can be made into apartment units. Was not aware of that. The space is kind of small, 24 units in that space with 48 parking spots. Is going to be pretty tight. Traffic, as has been mentioned before there on Lake Shore, can get pretty crazy at times. We got a lot of people speeding down through there. That's a city thing, but you know, this is going to be right part of that area there that really needs a four-way stop on it. And the other problem that we have in that particular area is all the runoff from the hospital, the grass area there on the backside of the hospital building, runs down there to Lake Shore, and we end up with a lake there every winter. And Public Works has addressed it in the last couple of years, but we still end up with a lake down there for the drainage. So we're a little concerned about that. Water and sewer has been addressed. Yeah, drainage is bad. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. You have a great day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Ladies.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak on this evening? Step forward, put your contact information on the sheet, state your name for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Patricia Mack, and I am a resident in the Lakeside Terrace community. And I am concerned about the 24-unit multifamily complex located at the 985 East USA Circle. This location is zoned for business and not residential. 24 apartment units will increase density in our neighborhood and increase traffic with an additional 48 to 50 cars in our community. We already have, as some of the other speakers have spoke about, traffic issues and speeders through the area as a cut through down Peck and onto Lakeshore, excuse me. And another area of concern too is that the access getting out onto Bogart is quite busy now, and I just suggested some other helpful access for the street out there. There's no signals between Bogart and the highway. There's not even a crosswalk, and there's a library right there at between USA Circle and the Lakeshore Drive. And I actually witnessed a bicycling accident there about 1.5 years ago in which someone was struck trying to cross that area across Bogart. And there is a high school, of course, junior high, ice skating rink, all kinds of public accesses, and the library that creates additional concern with this additional traffic. There are no traffic stop signs in the areas right there on West Cove and Lake Shore. It is, I think, suggested to have a study to have stop signs or some kind of traffic control there. And we're not aware of the building plans. I'm not sure if that's coming out later, but I think that, you know, a 24 unit would be kind of an eyesore blight to our community. Also, we've heard earlier concerns about the sewer and water issues. I know I've had some sewer issues in my unit. Whether or not that's a result of too many usages or not, but I think an additional 24 units would create additional burden on the system. You know, it is zoned as a commercial property. The zoning board, I Googled it, and they say that it's commercial. There are business offices, dentists, and banks, and I just think that 24 unit, you know, apartment complex would be a little bit heavy for that area. And that's not part of our comprehensive plan for the community. That's basically all I have to say. And thank you for hearing me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Since your contact information is already there, state your name for the record, please.
My name is Rory Grit, and I already wrote down my number here. Yeah, while I was sitting there, I was thinking about this. We heard something a little earlier about commercial being our bread and butter. I think that was a really good point. I live on that road. I walk my dogs on that road. I turn on that road every day. I turn off the road every day. I've lived here for about 5 years. It's a quaint road. I really like living on that road. It's quiet. Yeah, it's a hard left. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Cruzy Street could use a sidewalk. That's not really what's important here. But I'm glad to see the old empty lot that was just reduced have something done with it. That's pretty cool. I've been watching that piece of land for a long time. I was curious about what was going to happen to it. So kudos to capitalists and trying to develop something. But yeah, so I'm pro-development, but the testimony before did a great job explaining how commercial is our bread and butter, and I think we should maybe think about that as well. I'm curious if there's a possibility of like a blend of commercial and residential, you know? So if it's worth enough to have luxury rentals, it must be worth enough maybe to put a little bit more money into it and have some sort of downstairs, because I got to tell you, man, I got a girlfriend. She's real expensive, and she would be the biggest buyer of a bread shop in the bottom somewhere. Okay, now hear me out. That's a big lot. I know that's a little bit of change. Probably not for it, but a little bit of money over there wouldn't be too bad, because we got dentists, we got a dying hospital. You know, that hospital's not looking too good. Hasn't been good for a long time. I'll bet you a nickel in the next 15 years they're going to try to develop that piece of land. It's a big piece of land. And then not to mention, Neeser's got 8 acres. On West Cove and West Point. And I bet you once these guys go in, they're going to start thinking about that as well. So, I mean, that side of the road is just real weird. You know, it doesn't really have a vibe. It's got a bunch of dentist office. Once you're off the lakefront, it's like no man's land. You know, we got dying hospitals. We've got a really busy road you can't really walk or bike on because there's homeless people sometimes walking to and fro. You know, the sidewalks like you were talking about. So it's just like, we were talking about this during the comp plan too, is like, we kind of have to figure out what Wasilla wants to be like. And like I was talking about with the easement, in 50 years, we're gonna be reminisce to not really put some real thought into how we wanna lay this out, right? The overlay's gone for good reason, you know, people were complaining. So, you know, putting a lot of effort into this side of the road is cool. I love it. I think that's super cool. It's hard for me to get access to it. So I end up spending a lot of my time, so is my neighbors on that side. And every time something like this comes up, you know, I think we should talk about kind of what that future looks like. Okay, so say we got 24 units, one person, he's a doctor, he doesn't work at that hospital because that hospital is kind of dying. You know, he commutes, cool, he makes a little bit of money, but, you know, residential money doesn't see that. Commercial, you know, I live there. I drive a long ways to buy anything, you know, so like, that kind of area is either residential or it's commercial, but we're kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We got buildings built in the 1970s. The building right across from Pizza Hut, that is the weirdest building on earth. I've never seen anything drawn like that. It's so weird. I had a doctor there, Dr. Nemo, shout out, he's a good guy. But that building is going to be condemned in my lifetime. You know, that building is going to collapse at some point. So point being is that, you know, we need to stop thinking about 1 year ahead of time. And maybe a little bit of money, shout out, that, you know, that wouldn't be a bad idea to put something on that empty piece of land who's been there for a long time. But, you know, what are all these residents going to do? You know, like Tudor Road in Anchorage has Bicentennial Park. That used to be a dump, but you just walk across the street and you got a huge forest. Right now, where it's going to dump you out is really developed Bogart, which is dangerous, and really developed Cruzy, which is also dangerous, or the lake, which we don't have access to. So it's just like, you know, problem after problem after problem. So my thought is maybe rethink this one. I'd like to see maybe some options to see if you put in some kind of business in the bottom, maybe you make a little bit more money, maybe make a little bit more parking, something, just come up with some options. I'm not a huge fan of immediately having residential because, again, I think that hospital is going to come up for sale in the next decade or so. I think that NISR is going to develop, and I think that a couple of those buildings are going to be condemned. It's just a weird side of the road. So something to think about. But I like walking my dogs down there. I think it's safe. I like to hear that it's luxury. So I guess that's one side. But thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? The gentleman in the front row.
Larry Denick, I'll put my phone number down. I'm on the Homeowners Association over at Lakeside Terrace. And we have probably about an 80-20 split between live-in homeowners and or homeowners that rent their properties to someone else. One of the things that we have tried to do as a board with our homeowners association is to make sure that our homeowners emphasize our conditions in our homeowners association agreement to maintain the quality and appraised value of our subdivision. We don't tolerate too much stuff in there, and we let homeowners know that if their renters don't behave. That's how we maintain the integrity and the value of our properties. I hear the word luxury. What does luxury mean? They're rentals. How much is a luxury rental? I'm curious to know what the rental price is going to be for these luxury apartments. Is it going to be $4,000 a month? Is it $5,000 a month? That's a pretty nice tenant. That's an easy word to throw around here. But how do you define luxury? What's the price of that unit per month? That's going to give me a much better idea, give all of us a much better idea of what the word luxury is.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Commission, for hearing me.
You
I'm
have
speaking.
5 minutes
I have,
because you spoke on other things.
don't worry, I'm shorter than that. Thank you for hearing from me. I really appreciate it. Now I will speak specifically to this particular project. Apart from my general comments of not really liking pulling commercial property and making it into residential. Yes, we heard that technically from an engineer, oh, by the way, I'm an engineer, yeah, we can probably supply enough water and enough sewer to it. But unfortunately, Eric didn't address the soft issues with that. That is, the city's support for additional things. The city's already been out to my septic system 3 times this year. We're gonna have more city staff to do this. Yeah, it's a small increment. I understand that. But there is additional costs that housing particularly drives. So right now we have we have other zones, R2 and RM, which could be used for such a project. Maybe not in an exact area, but it seems to me, again, short of a real plan as to where we're going in the city, we're making a decision that we're going to be living with for the long term. And again, yes, we can put in the infrastructure that we need to support this kind of house. Yeah, okay, we can do it. But is it really the best plan? And my thinking is, I don't know if we have enough information at this point to really be sure this is the best plan. Some of the considerations that have been kicked around in the past when we've been looking at such things is, well, family housing. What does families mean? It means children. Oh, okay. Well, we're 1,000 feet from the middle school. Now, in the past, we had a rule for a 1,000-foot criteria to a middle school. It no longer exists. There's no sidewalks that'll get our students from the housing development to the school. That went away. Sorry. It's one of the things that we got rid of. Okay, Cruzy. My office overlooks Cruzy. I can see the high school. I can see the whole thing. My recollection working there is I see at least 2 accidents a month on Cruzy. It's not a problematic, I mean, it is a problematic road. Now we're going to be putting families, inevitably you're going to have junior high kids. We're going to be crossing the road because why? I'm more than a quarter or a half mile away, so the school district will not give us busing. Okay, kids are going to be walking across Cruzy, and the same is going to be true with the high school, only now we're going across a really super busy road, but luckily there is a light that they could get down to Cruzy to cross Bogart. A little less of a problem, but we don't have any sidewalks, we have no crosswalks on either of those 2 really busy streets. I think that we need to rethink this just a little bit, slow down and think it through. Okay, we'll continue on with kids. I love kids. Our housing complex of 65 units, we had a real problem. We had too many kids. So what we did is we came to the city about 2 years ago, we did some horse trading with you, and we put in a park for our kids. Now we got kids off of the roads playing in a park. I can tell you that 1.5 acres is not going to give any playground activity for kids, particularly with high-density parking. So I suppose the kids will play then in where? The dentist's office parking lot? The hospital parking lot? Where? We don't have a park, we don't have anything near for kids to really play in. No bicycle paths. Okay, yes, we can put in the housing complex. We can physically do it. But is that really going to be the best plan? And then that comes down to roads. I walked this and I drove it today. Yes, we have commercial type roads. Roads don't have any curbs, no sidewalks, drainage is a problem. So if kids are going to be walking or additional people are going to be walking, where are they going to be walking to? How are they going to be walking? On the road. Are we as a city going to step up and improve the situation for the residents that we're going to put there? Or are we just going to build the building and say good luck? I would prefer that we think this through a little bit more before we just jump into such a project. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Well, seeing no one else wants to come up, does the applicant, wait a minute, formality. Does the applicant have anything else to address?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, my name is Kurosh Parto. I'm the General Manager of Carroll Creek LLC, who is going to be managing this project. We've done multiple projects of this form and shape with Anchorage Community Development Authorities, Inigo River, with Chamber of Commerce, with different entities. This setup, this apartment complex is going to be mainly focusing on professionals who will be commuting probably to Anchorage or having jobs within the community in Wasilla. Most probably the project is going to have the 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo-style apartments with a lot of amenities inside, courts and German countertops and appliances and all of that, targeted for mainly professionals. So we don't believe that there are going to be a lot of families per se, or big families within the project. Properties zoned commercial, as you know. We can put a car wash there with 30 cars an hour traffic with a massive amount of water and sewer usage. We can have a hotel there with 60 rooms and a lot of traffic. Can be a homeless shelter. It's allowed in that zoning. We believe bringing this type of project within the city is gonna bring prosperity and growth. And in Anchorage right now, that's what the administration is asking for. They are giving us actually free land, and they're waiving property taxes for 20 years for investors to increase housing, to promote growth and prosperity, and bring people inside the city to make it a city, not just a dying town. I completely understand some of the neighbors, they have concerns about traffic, about noise, about parking, but I believe following the code, which is written by staff and the Planning Commission, will be in compliance with all of that and help the community to have a better place to live. Thank you. Questions?
Yes, we have Commissioner Langell.
Commissioner Langell, you're talking about an upscale complex, professionals, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. So we'll leave that there. What I'm looking at is considering the neighborhood and how it is used. Is your complex going to have a HOA?
No, because it's gonna be an apartment building. Until it's a condominiumized unit, it will not have an HOA.
Okay, will you allow parking of RVs, campers,
Negative.
snow machines?
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything?
Yeah. So a lot of people have expressed some concerns, so I just hopefully wanted to address some of those. I've been a civil engineer for over 30 years, so I've gone to a lot of public hearings and planning commissions and things like this. So a lot of the comments that we get there are people who are concerned, but sometimes I think they're a little extreme and sometimes not completely accurate. So a lot of people have expressed concerns about the number of parking spaces. Like I said, we're required to have 48, we have over 50, we could add more if we need to, so there's plenty of room for parking. I've done a lot of work with the City of Wasilla's water and sewer system. We rely on Public Works to let us know if there's capacity. Hopefully you're aware of the septic tank effluent pumping system that they have for the sewer system. So a lot of the issues that were brought up, people having issues with their sewer and their for their home or their the condos and things that are there, those are all issues on site. They're not the capacity of the sewer itself. And so our development would have no impact at all on making those situations any worse than they are, because they're localized problems that are on the lot, not the sewer capacity itself. So we won't have we'd have no negative impact on that. People threw out some numbers as far as traffic. If you use the Institute of Traffic Engineers Handbook, which we're required to use when we design, for residential units, that typically, we're required to use 1 vehicle per hour per unit. So if we were doing a traffic study on this, this would add an additional 24 vehicles per hour for peak hour. So it wouldn't be, 50 or 60, that number that was thrown out by somebody. And again, that doesn't, there's 2 access points, so that number would actually be divided between the Lake Shore and USA Circle. So it would be even considerably less than that. Again, we feel like it would fit in the neighborhood because everything, a lot of the stuff adjacent to this, across the street and in this neighborhood is also residential. Someone brought up some concerns about runoff. As part of the design, we will have to design some on-site retention to help minimize peak runoff. There's always going to be issues with runoff in the winter because nothing's soaking in the ground because the ground is frozen. But what we do should help alleviate some of that, but it's not going to, certainly not going to make it go away. Someone was concerned about snow storage in the cul-de-sac. All the snow on site will be stored on site. So we have, as part of the design, we will have plenty of room on site for our own snow. So we won't be pushing that off of our site into the right-of-way. That would be detained on site and then if needed to hauled off. Someone talked about access to the schools, and they are right. They're correct. There are no sidewalks on USA Circle or Lakeshore, but Cruzy Street has sidewalks on both sides. I have 8 kids. All of them went to Wasilla High School and middle school, so I'm very familiar with access points for both schools. And you can get to the middle school. They're at the intersection of Bogart and Cruzy. There's crosswalks and lights. There's a traffic light there that has crosswalks in both directions, so that shouldn't be a problem. Again, people have mentioned a couple of times that they're worried about the eyesore. This is going to be a really nice building. I'm not the architect, so I don't have any part in the design of that, but I have seen renderings of it. It will be a very nice looking building. It'll be maintained. Again, hopefully that will address any concerns that the neighbors have. And we would really hope that you would listen to the Planning Commission's recommendation on this, they're in favor of issuing the conditional use permit. So, any questions for me? All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So now I need a motion to either approve or deny the application for conditional use permit 2601, resolution serial number 2602.
Commissioner Stafford, I move that we approve a conditional use permit 2601, resolution 2602.
Second by Commissioner Lancho.
And that was to approve.
To approve, yes.
Is there any discussion by the commission?
I think the citizens need to understand that this commission follows our city codes and our building codes and everything that's set before us. And when our planner checks and we verify, it all meets code, and it's hard not to justify a yes vote. Although you may not personally like it, it meets code. So and I still wonder, because it's been brought up before, why aren't more people responding to these? And I think that's something the city needs to address to put the public at more ease.
I know you're not really taking questions. I can respond to that. I got the notice about a week and a half ago.
Yeah. First time we knew it was ever going to happen.
I noticed an error. I caught that we were sending notices, and it is in our code to send notices to the property owners. And that's not always the physical address. And that's not a practice that I'm familiar with. It's generally both. And so the reason why they got notice late and the reason why we extended the comment period up until yesterday at 5 was that wanted to start notifying at the physical address. So we made sure we covered all that, and that's going to be something that we do in the future, is to make sure that we're sending notification of these to both, and we'll also update the language in the letter. But that's the reason why you got notices late. But that will not be an issue in the future. You will get them as on time. So.
I'll thank you for that qualification. And I'll just say this. At the end of the day, I don't care about sewer, water, drainage, or ingress or egress, sidewalks, or anything else. We know where we live. We have 3-bedroom, 2-bath condos. They're nice, especially the end units with attached garages, backyards, patio decks, barbecues. We have a 6.5-foot crawl space underneath our condos where we can store stuff. Comparing the 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo as luxury, it really comes down, and you're right, this is a code decision. And it should garner a yes because it meets code. But the real question is, and the reason we're here, does a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 24-unit condo project on a postage stamp meet the quality of the neighborhood that we live in? And I think our answer to that is a resounding no.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Chairman Sills, if I may speak. I want to thank the public for coming out. That's the beauty of a small community, is people get to have their voice. I've been on the Planning Commission now I just kind of want to explain where my thinking is behind on how I'm going to decide to vote. I've been on the Planning Commission here now for a couple of years, and the times when these type of issues have been talked, it's almost like everyone draws from the same phrase book of, I don't want my quiet neighborhood disturbed. My thought behind that is, so when you moved in, then we should have put up a gate and turned everything else into a park and let no one else in. You got to move there at some point in time. Why should other people be denied that as well? So that's my one thought, because I've heard that in other settings like this. Not in my neighborhood. Well, then buy the whole neighborhood. Or the other thought is, this is allowed by code. The planning department did their due diligence to verify that. If we don't like the code, I would encourage the city council to change the code, which we've done. We went through Title 16. It was a 2-year process. If we don't want any residential and commercial, then the council has failed to establish that. And so I'm making my decision on the code as it is currently written. And on the fact that I appreciate the fact I was able to move into where I live. And I don't know that I want to deny other people the opportunity to move where they want to live, as long as code is being met. And thank you to the planning department for doing your due diligence. So those are my thoughts on what's going to influence my vote. Thank you, Chairman Sills.
Commissioner Brown.
Commissioner Brown, I appreciate the comments from the other 2 commissioners. And I've just asked us as a planning commission and the planner and the city of Wasilla, it's making it very difficult for me because I don't see that Wasilla has a theme as to who we are when we grow up. And without a theme of who you want to be and what you will allow, it's hard to stop anything from being built. But I would ask us all to look around at other cities we visit, and I hate to pick on Juneau because I live there, but it's a good example of poor planning. Once a building is built out of concrete, it's there. And you can't move it very easily and very cheaply. And what do we want Wasilla to look like? I read a thing from an earlier briefing that Wasilla is a progressive town keeping a small town look. What does that mean? You're either gonna become Anchorage or you're gonna be a small town. And we all want more. We want more taxes, we want more people, we want more playgrounds, we want more sidewalks, we want more streetlights, we want more roads, we want more housing. That doesn't go along with a small town feel. So, yes, the planning commission did the job of checking the blocks. Did it meet the criteria? And the Public Works says, yes, he believed the sewer can handle this. But anybody who's done any kind of mechanical work or engineering know that, yes, you can handle a lot, but if you keep straining that system, it's gonna break. And it's gonna cost the city a lot of money to repair those breaks. And it's gonna change who you are and who we are, the more money it costs to put new pumps and stuff in. So yes, this is a very difficult situation. Do we put a lot of faith in the planner to check the blocks and see if it all meets the criteria? That was done. And so I guess it's almost impossible to do anything except vote yes for this. And I just would ask citizens here tonight and citizens throughout Wasilla, if you are concerned about who your city is, if you're concerned about what you want your city to be, you need to get involved, not with the planning commission, but with the city council and ask some rules be changed and bring some ideas. Complaining is easy. It's much more difficult to bring an idea on how to solve that complaint. So if you're concerned about this and concerned about me coming in next week and building another 24 unit down the street from this one, I suggest you get involved with your city now and decide what you want to be. Complaining about it 10 years from now is not going to solve the problem. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, point of order. Julia, Holly can't speak again.
I had volume turned down because of like
Okay.
buffery sound, but I can turn it back up.
Okay.
Okay. Holly, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. So a couple things, when we are reviewing a conditional use permit, we stick to the criteria, right? And I hear that in your findings and I hear that in your comments. I do want to make sure that, you have a resolution, so you'll move that resolution. And it's important for your comments to incorporate the criteria. So, if any statement that resolution itself makes it clear that you're incorporating that criteria and that this conditional use permit meets that criteria and that you agree with the planner's determination and incorporate it into your findings. But I just want to make sure that, one, we don't forget the resolution because you guys use the motion, right? So when the commission uses a motion, I think is the process that you're going to follow going to then move the resolution after moving the motion? And that's okay. I just want to make sure that you go through the proper steps.
Can I get clarification? That confused me. Your last couple of comments as far as
Generally, you would move, someone would make a motion to pass resolution number, 26-02? And then that discussion would ensue. And you talk about your findings. But we just made a motion to approve. So, which again is legally sufficient, but I want to make sure that you intend to go forward with the resolution, because the resolution is really your written decision.
resolution with findings as written.
Okay.
That sounds good. Thank you. I'm sorry. So right now we have a motion on the floor to approve the conditional use permit. right?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess one way we could do that is a motion to approve the conditional use permit and adopt resolution 26-02. So maybe we could get a motion to amend the motion on the floor.
Just amend your resolution.
Resolution 2 is denying it.
Okay, so the motion I made earlier was for approval of resolution serial number 2602, so the approval of it, to approve the conditional use permit on a 24 multi-family residential development in the commercial zoning district, and, which is, so that's resolution 2602, which is conditional use permit 2601. Yeah, I think I included both those in my
Okay.
original, but I'd like to. Yeah.
Oh, did you? I think you might have, okay. So I think the confusion, I'm sorry to.
Yeah, my voice may have dropped out in there. My throat got a little.
I think it did. Yes, I don't think I heard that. So it sounds like you did it
Yeah, and
completely appropriately. And I will go back. Julia, put me back on mute.
no, it's good that we're crossing every T and dotting every I.
I call for the question.
Yeah.
I feel like a meeting.
Is there any further discussion? Well, I haven't had a chance to speak, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, Chair Seals, I graduated high school in 1974. 2 weeks later, I was in Alaska, in Wasilla. I have watched Wasilla go from a postage stamp to what we have now. And boy, have there been a lot of bad decisions as far as planning this city. To try and fix all that tonight is just not going to work. My only question is the definition of the word luxury and high-end apartments. So does that stay luxury for 20 years? 25 years?
5 years.
5 years? So my curiousness is how this stays luxury so that some of the people that have expressed their concerns at least know that this is going to stay luxury for a while. So that's my comment. How do I know that 2 years from now, when these units aren't renting, that they suddenly become less luxurious? So
We're letting the fox in the chicken coop.
that'd be my comment.
Call for the question.
With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call for a roll call vote to approve conditional use permit 2601, resolution serial number 2602?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Abstain.
Commissioner Seals.
No.
Commissioner Langell?
No.
And do we have Commissioner DeYoung online still?
Yes. I say no.
Okay, so we have,
Commissioner Brown, I don't think you can abstain unless you have a conflict of interest.
No.
Okay, so I think that you participated in the hearings and you participated in providing findings. So I think you need to, you are now a judge in this case, so to speak, right?
Yes.
So, and unfortunately or fortunately, that means that the commission and each of the commission members that participated in the hearing need to participate in the decision.
I vote no.
okay. Anything
So if
else?
you guys are gonna vote no, one of the things you need to do is you need to go back and do your findings, because the comments that are on the record for this resolution all talk about the criteria being met. So just what I would suggest is, and remember, we're not under Robert's Rules of Order right now. We're issuing a decision in a quasi-judicial proceeding. So we're under due process. So we want to make sure that your decision is clear. So the court, if ever is reviewing your decision, it understands where you came from, and that the applicant understands where you came from. And so the criteria, we should probably walk through that criteria together, I think. And then you just make comments why you do not think that it is. So you can, and so this is, and the awkwardness of this is because we use a legislative instrument in a resolution, right, to issue a quasi-judicial decision. So what we do is we pause it and we go through them together, and we walk through the criteria. So the first criteria is does the applicable code authorize each proposed use and structure by conditional use permit in that zoning district? Does anybody have any findings or comments they want to make regarding that criteria?
Commissioner
Okay.
Stafford, I would make the comment that the planning department has found that it meets the criteria.
Well, I think the planning department it doesn't matter what they find, it matters what you find. So do you find that it meets the criteria? And that means, so you would go to the code and you'd look at what the planner put before you, and say, you can say the planner found that it met the criteria and I agree or don't agree, because the code says that, this is the residential is a permitted use in the commercial zoning district, right? But then, so I think that one, the letter of the code appears to authorize residential use in the commercial zoning district. Does everybody agree with that one? There's other ones here where I'm not trying to force your hand, but there's other ones here where I really think your findings that are leading to your no's are gonna be clear on the record. So, but on this first one,
I think we all agree.
A, this is 1695-20A. The language is, the applicable code authorizes each proposed use and structure by conditional use permit in that zoning district.
Staff finding states that subject to approval of a conditional use permit.
You'll need to turn your microphone on.
Right, so that's perfect. Commissioner Lancel, that's perfect. What you're saying is, this is authorized, but as a conditional use, right? It is authorized if a conditional use is granted. And so the next finding is the proposed use and structures are compatible with the purpose of the zoning district in which the lot is located. So do any commissioners have thoughts or findings that pertain to that criteria?
Commissioner Langill, I don't feel it's compatible with the area, district, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, do any other commissioners have feelings on that criteria?
Commissioner Brown, with what's in the area already, I feel there's a conflict with what's being put there versus what's already on the ground around there.
Okay. Criteria C, the value of the adjoining property will not be negatively affected greater than that anticipated from other permitted or conditionally permitted uses in the district. So here, the applicant testified that, you know, that they would be permitted to have a hotel or they would be permitted to have a car wash. And so that was the testimony that you heard. So if you considered that testimony and either agree or disagree, you know, this is the criteria where your findings in that arena would be expressed. Does anybody have anything to express regarding that finding?
So Commissioner Stafford, in my view, looking at the fact that there's residential on the, across the street and just kitty corner from there, I would feel that that criteria would be met, that it would not negatively affect the values of the property since there's already residential on two sides of it.
Commissioner Seals, on that, I would say, back to my definition of luxury and how long those units will be luxury units.
Are we allowed to address that question?
Attorney?
Generally speaking, the hearing has allotted periods of time for speaking, but the chair could. This is unusual because we're having to walk through the criteria. So what I would recommend is, I think that allowing you to speak, if so long as there's no objection to that, would be an appropriate decision, given that there's informal rules here. So it's up to you, Chair.
No objection.
Any objections?
No.
Go ahead, you can come up and address that.
Okay, the use of the units will be determined by the owner. So you're right, there's nothing in writing that says it's gonna stay this way forever. However, to me, common sense says it's gonna stay that way as long as it can. The developer and the owner who's here is gonna retain ownership of that, and he wants it to be luxury apartments as long as he owns it. He could sell it, and whoever owns it could decide to downgrade everything, although I think that would be very unusual for that to happen. So I think there's a good chance that for 20 years, these could be luxury condos. But there's no mechanism to force that.
No, I understand that. My answer to your comment just now would be, so if the luxury part doesn't work out well, and say the state needs housing for mentally disabled people, he could sell that apartment building, and that apartment complex could turn into residential treatment. It could turn into lower income housing or housing for disabled people, so the luxury part, that's the one I have the problem with.
But that could happen to any of the homes in that area, right?
That's wrong. We have a homeowners association. We control that. That can't happen.
So do we.
We own it. You're talking about renters.
Sir,
We own our unit. You own a building that's going to rent.
Sir.
But the owner.
There's a big difference, my friend.
I may have to ask you to leave.
But the owner does have control over that.
Yeah.
The owner of these buildings will have control over what they look like, and you're right. So
if it sells a year from now,
But
what
I-
we just listened to is a moot point.
And maybe, the owner's here, the plan is not to.
This zoning allows actually a affordable housing, so for what I care, we can put a shelter there, and we will not have this discussion, and this gentleman here, they will not.
There it is. I excuse myself from the meeting. That's it, right there. That's it, in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But I think he brings up a good point. I mean, as a commercial lot, they could put something that would be much less desirable there, that would still be allowed and wouldn't have to go through the conditional use permit process. correct?
And so I just,
I'm waiting for
so
city attorney.
So I think, we've done something very unusual by taking comments while a motion is pending and you're issuing your findings, which again, it's more important that we are giving the applicant the opportunity to hear your findings and that the opportunity was given to address the criteria, and which I think the commission has really has done well. So, but I think we should continue moving through the findings. So I'm going to just read that one again, and I would like the commission, any commissioners that have comments where this finding is impacting their decision, to express those findings on the record. And this is the reason why I'm putting you through this is because the comments regarding why you were making the decision were not clearly tied to the findings recommended in the resolution and incorporated into the resolution from the planner, right? So I want to make sure we have independent findings by the commissioners. So that finding, again, is the value of the adjoining property will not be negatively affected greater than that anticipated from other permitted or conditionally permitted uses in the district.
It was met.
It's met.
Okay.
So my
So the next criteria, and that's just, we want to make sure that the record's noting, because you're allowed to have different viewpoints on the findings, and that's okay. We just want to make sure the record's clear. So the next criteria, the proposal is compatible with existing uses of surrounding land. Does anybody have anything to say about this finding?
Commissioner Stafford, there's residential across the street, there's residential kitty corner to this. It's not like it's completely, there's residential within view of this property.
Okay, and does anybody else have anything to add on this criteria? Okay, the next criteria is E, public services and facilities are or will be, prior to occupancy, adequate to serve the proposed use and structure. Does anybody have anything to say about this criteria?
Commissioner Lancham, I wish Public Works was still here, because this is one of them that I agree with Commissioner Brown, truly concerns me in this city anymore. But it says Public Works has reviewed the proposal and confirmed that the general locations for water and sewer connections are acceptable at this stage of review.
And
That can change. That's telling me it can change.
yes. And that's the one that got my biggest concern, city attorney, was the report that was given by Public Works prior to this hearing implied to me that the city was getting close to the very limits of its sewer and water capabilities without some serious updates to the systems. And we put in a 24 apartment building here. Yeah, a lot of people would be at work during the day, but there's no guarantee. And what about holidays and Fridays and Saturdays when everybody else is at home and using the system? So that was a real concern of mine. Probably the biggest concern of all of this was that one.
Commissioner Stafford, our Public Works Director was in this meeting and in last night's council meeting, laid out concerns with our public sewer system, and yet when asked specifically about this project, said that this would not be an issue. So he's not been hesitant to voice concerns, and in this situation, he specifically said this wouldn't be a concern. So I feel that that criteria has been met, as explained by our Public Works Director earlier, when specifically asked, would this be a problem? He specifically said, this is not the problems that we're dealing with. He did say the big problems are the large retail, not the small residential.
This isn't small residential.
I think one of the things just to remember too is we make our decision based on the record before us for this hearing, for this application. And so the comments of the Public Works Director are part of the record, and and the public, what you heard at the hearing is also part of the record. And I know you heard some testimony of the concerns regarding, wastewater. And so, but I just
So,
want to
Commissioner
make sure
DeYoung,
we stay grounded
through
in
the
the hearing.
chair,
Go ahead.
there is residential, but it's not a complex. Either they're homes, they're townhomes. This is a completely different animal, and I come at this by being a property manager for 22 years, and Commissioner Steele has a very good point. That will not stay luxury. I mean, the minute it sells, it could be anything. I don't think that that's a good spot. Put it on the corner of Nelson and Lucas, or down there, across from the park. Build 10 of them. But in this particular spot, I just don't think it's a good idea. I think it should be a dentist, or not a dentist. We have those, but I think it should be, something more conducive to that area. I don't think we should be giving up our commercial lots for something like this.
Okay, so let's move on to criteria F. Does that sound good? I think, and these are all good comments. This was a good discussion. So
Holly, I have one comment on this Public Works review. It goes on in the next paragraph to final determination of system capacity, including bedroom count and fixture for current or future use calculations. Water and sewer permitting, is that water and sewer permitting taking place yet?
Once the plans are submitted for the actual building, that they'll go through that entire thing. So the calculations might change if the plans change and they do something that's smaller with less units, or so it's to be determined. What we're looking at right now is the use of this property. Is this an appropriate use of this land based on our code?
Thank you.
So we're moving on to criteria F. Oh, sorry. Did I interrupt someone?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, okay. F, considering harmony and scale, bulk, coverage, and density, generation of traffic, the nature and intensity of the proposed use, and other relevant effects, the proposal will not cause undue harmful effects upon desirable neighborhood character. Does anybody have anything to add? And it is also appropriate to say that, after the hearing and looking at all of the evidence, that you agree with the planner or don't agree with the planner, but in that case, state why.
Commissioner Lancho, well, I will have to base my decision on this particular one on the public comments. The scale, the bulk, the coverage and density, generation of traffic, intensity, proposed use is not compatible with the current residents. It's not in harmony.
Commissioner DeYoung, that's what I would base mine on as well. That's exactly what I just said.
Okay. And so both of those comments go to that finding, so for that criteria. So criteria G, the proposal will not be unduly detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the surrounding area or the city as a whole. Does anybody have any findings relevant to this criteria?
Commissioner Lanchell, I would have to question whether it will meet the requirements or the requirements that should be there for the safety and welfare of the residents of that area.
Okay, and Commissioner Lanchill, is that because I think you made earlier comments, perhaps, or somebody did, regarding traffic?
Traffic, no sidewalks.
Okay.
No traffic control.
Okay. Criteria
And
H.
that's a very
Proposal
small
does or will comply with the applicable regulations and conditions specified in this title for such use.
Commissioner Stafford, I feel that it does comply or will comply, is my opinion.
Okay. And that's your opinion based on everything that you heard and the application as submitted, yes? Okay.
Yeah, based
And then-
on all that, yep.
Okay. And we made it, number I, or letter I, the proposal is not contrary to the applicable land use goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan.
Not applicable, right?
Commissioner Langell, I have to chuckle at this. Our comprehensive plan for this city is well over, is it 10 years, 12 years, 15 years out of date? I don't think that we can say that it's not contrary.
Okay. So, and I think it's okay to say that we don't want to say that our plan is lawful, and while an update is going on, the comprehensive plan is the comprehensive plan, and we need to comply with it. So, if you think it's contrary,
I think
to
it's
that
contrary.
plan, that's something to say. If you don't think it's contrary, that's something to say. Okay. Okay. So no comments regarding this one other than.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so now the commission has walked through the findings. Each of the commissioners has expressed has expressed the basis for the way that you are voting on the resolution. At this point, I would ask the planning clerk or the chair, to move forward with your motion.
Vote on the motion.
Call for the vote again.
Yep.
All right.
The motion that was on the floor.
Okay, moving back to the motion that has been on the floor to approve the conditional use permit 2601 with resolution serial number 2602 as it currently stands. Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
No, we're not voting on the resolution or the ordinance. We're voting on the facts of finding.
No.
No?
No, you're voting on the resolution. But that resolution, make sure you read it closely. It contains facts and findings, as does now your written record. So those together will be what, if a court were to look at this, that's what they're going to look at to determine if your decision complies with the, if you've, your decision under 1695-20.
155.
And so you've gone through these and shown that you've actually reviewed these criteria and considered the evidence presented and the record presented in light of these criteria.
Okay, understood.
Can we vote?
Am I able to start over?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Seals?
Yes.
Commissioner Langell?
Yes.
Commissioner DeYoung?
No.
By a with 4 approvals and 1 unapproved vote, the conditional use permit 2601, resolution serial number 2602 is approved.
With the facts of finding as discussed.
With the facts of finding as it currently stands.
Thank you.
Was the commission's intent to, so the record will reflect the findings the commission made, but I guess in some ways I was a little surprised by the outcome. So I guess, okay, so since this is not subject to Robert rules, I would say that the decision of the commission includes the findings expressed by the commission. So I'm just thinking of how we do that. I think we will let the record stand. And then, Julia, just make sure that we have a solid, that our minutes are not minutes so much as actually just a word-for-word transcript of those findings, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Legislative recommendation.
He was just hanging out in case there was any more. Conversation is going to the hallway.
Gentlemen. Excuse me, gentlemen. Could you move to the hallway, please? Thank you. Next on the agenda is legislative recommendations and actions. Will the planning clerk please read the agenda item under legislative recommendations actions?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. This evening, we have the MVP, Matsu Valley Planning for Transportation Improvement Program, fiscal year 25-27, or 2027. Request for scoping comments and policy discussion for resolutions in support of capital improvement programs.
Will the MPB representative please provide a report?
You're just so excited.
Kim Solian, Executive Director of Matsu Valley Planning for Transportation. So the scoping comment request that you have before you is actually from the Department of Transportation. It's part of their federal process for any transportation project that they are receiving federal funds for. They're required to go through an environmental review. And so the request from the DOT is asking stakeholders and agency representatives to document any concerns that you have related to environment or cultural resources, water quality, wetland impacts, things like that, from the two proposed projects from the city of Wasilla, which are the two repaving projects. So MVP doesn't really have a role in this process, but I'm happy to answer any questions if I can about the scoping process in general and what the state DOT is asking for.
Chair Seals, I know what the DOT is asking for, but they've proved pretty much over the last 50 years I've been here, they're not gonna follow any of it. They're gonna do what they wanna do. And it's really sad. So, yeah, these roads need repaved. They need milled. I'm all for that. But I'm real hesitant about how DOT is going to treat what we recommend.
Maybe you, Chair, maybe you could clarify your role with a project. Do you have any input or any ability to influence what occurs and don't occur?
Through
As your federal role?
Through Commissioner Seals to Commissioner Brown. So we are the convening organization, so we bring together the local governments. We engage in the planning process to understand what are the deficiencies in the transportation network, what projects would improve the deficiencies. And so that's kind of, we're gathering information, we're making sure everybody is at the table, has a say in what we want to, how we want to spend our funds, and that we're pointing funding towards projects that make the most sense. So our policy board did vote on our improvement program. I think there are 15 projects in the improvement program, 2 of which are the city of Wasilla's that your public works director brought forward. And so We certainly support these projects, maintaining the current system in terms of the network that we have and making sure that we're not just building new, but we're maintaining is one of our values and what we want to see. So we do, as an organization, support the City of Wasilla's proposal for these two projects. Again, in terms of the DOT's scoping, they just have to make sure that, you know, when they're looking at the high level at projects and trying to assess environmental impacts, it's always possible that the local community knows something about a certain area that might be missed in some of that scoping process. And so this document and this request is really to make sure that if they have missed something, that you're going to help them identify it so they can check that box. If there was a sensitive wetland, or there was a culvert that wasn't fish friendly, or I'm blank, if there were potential drainage issues that weren't identified in the initial scope, like we would be looking for you to tell us or tell the DOT so we can make sure we don't impact the fish habitat, we don't impact water quality, we don't cause other drainage issues. So it's really your opportunity to say, I know about this area, I have concerns about these items, and please look at it. And then the DOT would go back and look at their plan, make sure those were addressed, document how they addressed your concerns, and then move forward with the project. But we have already approved these two projects to move forward. So this is part of the design process.
But do DOT or the city have to abide by your recommendations
So
to get the federal funding?
that's a great question. Through Commissioner Seals to Commissioner Brown, when I'm not sure the process your Public Works Director went through to nominate these projects, but when you're in normal budget cycle, there is a 9.03% non-federal match attached to all of the capital projects. So we'll get, you know, for every dollar of federal funding that goes towards a project for the city, you have to give us 10 cents to match that. And so if the city decided, you know, your Public Works Director said, these are the 10 priorities, they brought that forward through the budget process, let you know what the match was going to be. If you didn't like the project and or didn't have the match, then you would say, no, we can't do that, or we don't like that, or document whatever your findings were. And then from the Planning Commission to the council, you could say no to a project, and then we would remove it from our plan. So you do always have a say. We won't force any project on you. Through MVP. May I make another comment about that? So one of the other key benefits to having an MPO is that we have the right to say no to DOT. So the city is going to potentially request that some of MVP's funding go towards projects that you want to see happen. Well, the state DOT is going to do a whole other slew of projects within the city or near the city. If you don't want some of them, then the Planning Commission through the City of Wasilla can come to the policy board and say no to certain projects, and our policy board would take that under consideration and potentially vote it down, which means we wouldn't put it in our Metropolitan Transportation Plan and it wouldn't receive funding.
Oh, I have a great one. How about the couplet?
Oh.
That horse is out of the barn.
The ship sailed.
Yes.
Well, the problem is, that's a shipwreck. But that's just my opinion, so, thank you.
No, a lot of people.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Now, may I have a motion for the Matsu Valley Planning for Transportation, MVP Improvement Program, FY 25-27, request for scoping comments and policy discussion for resolutions in support of capital improvement programs, which would be the two items that are before us tonight. May I have a motion to approve?
Commissioner Brown, move that we forward our support for the Matsu Valley Planning for Transportation MVP Improvement Project FY 25-27 to the City Council, that the Planning Commission support these.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Stafford, second.
That was to approve. Is there any discussion by the commission? Ms. Langell, you have your mic, or do you have it? Okay, just making sure. Is there any discussion?
No.
With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call for a roll call vote to approve that big long thing? No, I'll read it. Matsu Valley Planning for Transportation MVP Improvement Program FY 25-27. Request for scope and comments and policy discussion for resolutions in support of capital improvement programs. Whew.
I will be happy to call for a roll call, but I need to clarify with the attorney what exactly are we drafting a resolution in support? Is this, can you provide some guidance on
Great
that?
question.
Because we don't have a resolution in front of us or an existing policy.
You can make a motion to recommend approval, or I guess you could just make a motion to direct to make a motion to approve and direct the planner to bring back a resolution at the next meeting.
Now, we actually have a resolution. It's 25-14.
We do?
That's what it says here.
Oh, I thought.
I haven't drafted a resolution for this. I have not
Did
drafted
we
a
have a
resolution.
resolution on our
That was a clerical error.
agenda? I don't.
Claire.
We can draft one.
Okay,
Can I amend my motion?
I think we better. Make it simple.
Commissioner Brown, I move that we direct the planner, city planner, to create a resolution for the city council that we support MVP FY 25-27.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Stafford, second.
Any discussion by the commission? With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call for a roll call vote to approve the planner to make a resolution on this?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Seals?
Yes.
Commissioner Langell?
Yes.
Commissioner DeYoung?
Yes.
All right, the motion to approve having the city planner draft a resolution in support of the Matsu Valley Planning for Transportation Improvement Program FY 25 with the project number that is before us to City Council is approved. And will be brought before the next Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. We are now at unfinished business, and with no unfinished business, we move on to communications. We are now at communications. Would the planning clerk please read the items for approval under the communications into the record?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. This evening, we have permit information, permits and licenses issued December 3rd through, or 2025 through February 3rd, 2026. Code violations, December 3rd, 2025 through February 3rd, 2026, and then the January Matsu Borough Planning Commission agendas for 2026.
Is there any discussion by the commission?
Commissioner Lanchell, I brought this up at the last meeting and I'm gonna bring it up again. Our violation list is still at 0. This is going on 3 months now. And when I drive through this city, I see a lot of violations. And so what we're hearing is that people aren't complaining. They don't care if there's violations. They're just not reporting them?
So Commissioner Lantil, this is Holly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to, I'm going to take this moment based on your comments to just, I have talked to the planning clerk, and while I owe you a memo on this, I have not drafted that memo. But what I will be advising is that a violation list is provided for information purposes only. And that is because you may be called upon to sit on an appeal. So the violation may be appealed to the Planning Commission, which means any comments that you have made before or positions you have taken would compromise the objectivity of your decision making in that appeal, right? So the violations will be provided in sort of a list form, but they will not be on the agenda for discussion. And so similar to permits will be provided, a list of permits, but those will be provided once they're issued and after the appeal period has passed, so that we are protecting we're ensuring there's no appearance of impropriety, and that your quasi-judicial role is very clean and lawful.
Thank you, Holly.
I don't know if that helps address your question, but I think that at least will explain what is coming for list purposes.
Thank you for making that very clear, Holly. With no further discussion, we move on to audience comments.
They left you all by yourself? You got the whole...
Got the whole thing, yeah.
Okay, she won't do it. Now we move on to comments. Does the city planner have any comments?
Other than the comprehensive plan is underway, we will have something by the end of the year. And then one of the things that we're looking to address is who is Wasilla? That is one of the comments that's come up. And so that question hopefully will be answered through a new comp plan. So
You said at the end of the year, that's the fiscal year or the calendar year?
the calendar year.
Okay.
Yeah. Does the city attorney have any comments?
I'm sorry, but I'm just going to make one quick comment or a couple quick comments. But I know that was a difficult process tonight, but I think that the commission did a great job of reading the criteria and also knowing there's no answer you're supposed to give, even if the planner gives a specific recommendation, right? But we do always want to ground ourselves in the criteria. And so we will have quasi-judicial training. And I think, and I'll talk to the planner about this, but I think it might be good for us to walk through the criteria together in hearing for a while until you are all a well-oiled machine of just sort of going through that process on your own and you don't need me anymore. And those are all my comments.
Commissioner Brown, do you have any comments tonight?
I can't imagine why. First,
Microphone.
Commissioner Brown, to the city attorney, it would make me happy if we could get some of that training before we have to go through another night like tonight. I think using tonight's resolution would be a good training tool for us to use as to go through. And it would help me understand how the city planner comes to her decisions and where my decisions and personal views fit into that. And the second comment, is it appropriate for us to ask the city planner to look at that question that came up in the meeting about Peck Street access to the lake? It's one of the people who testified was concerned that it was causing problem between residents. At the end of Peck Street, there was an access point to the lake, but it's partially owned by private property, sound like?
It's an encroachment,
Okay.
right? So yeah.
I don't know, is it, to the attorney, is it appropriate for us to ask her to look into it and give us a better understanding of what's happening there?
I think if we ground it in generalizations, like, so you're asking about the code and what is required and what is allowed under the code. So we're looking at Title 16, and it is always appropriate for the commission to ask questions and seek to improve Title 16. So let's ground it in that rather than a specific issue.
And that particular space is an easement, and it's been confused with private property, so it's not clear to the property owners that that's an easement, I believe. That is something we can look into. We're aware that that's been an issue.
Okay.
And we can look into how we can address that moving forward. I think there's been attempts.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Langell.
Once again, I had a lot of heartburn on our decision tonight because my problem is this, my understanding is the commission looks at land use only. We don't look at design, we don't look at anything else. It's land use according to code. I truly feel that the Wasilla Code on land use is just too broad and too, anything goes when you really look at it. And I have to question, is that what this city wants? I mean, we've got, where I live, we've got RR that I look at what's happened over the years, and I've been there 40-some years. Used to be RR, it looks like industrial to me, but it's being allowed. And so how do we just went through Title 16.
Not all of it.
But Commissioner Lansell, I do want to, I think this is an important comment, so I'm just going to say it so you guys know. Remember, we went through phase 1 of Title 16, which did not delve into these questions you're asking, which are more, it did a bit, but we didn't spend a lot of time. It was a cleanup. It didn't really delve into what should this district be, or, how is this being used, or how strict or do we want to regulate cities. So just keep that in mind. I don't want you to feel restricted on your ability to raise concerns regarding the substance of the zoning, because I think that's phase 2 of Title 16, and that's the consensus there from council was we will get a comp plan, and then we go to phase 2 of Title 16, which is to effectively that.
The comp plan end of year, so that means Title 16, we may get to it in 2028.
You got somewhere to go?
I
do.
This city's got someplace they need to go.
Yeah, they need to get away from where they've been, but.
Yeah.
Commissioner DeYoung, before I get all my comments out, do you have any comments?
I have to agree with Langell. I'm disgusted. We all know that's not right. And to follow that and not, take into account that's commercial, I don't know. I have way more than heartburn, but it is what it is, right?
Yes.
I don't think the city's going in a good direction right now. I think that that's a crime. And that's my comment.
Commissioner Stafford, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad the public came out tonight and made their voices heard. I know it's frustrating when it doesn't go the way you hoped it would, but here's my stance. We have given developers a set of rules in our city code. They met everything in that code, and then they come here and we tell them, no, too bad. You jumped through all of our hoops, but we still don't like you. Are we going to be open for business, or are we not? It's okay to not like the project, but if it meets all the rules, to tell them no seems very arbitrary. So if we don't like the rules, we can even draft a resolution asking City Council to look at the rules, although they just spent 2 years looking at the rules. And I know it was just phase 1, Madam City Attorney. I know it's just phase 1. We're still working on it. But until we get there, the rules are what the rules are. And if they jump through all of our hoops, and yet we still tell them no, then the message we're sending to other developers is, you can jump through Wasilla's hoops, but they're still gonna tell you no. And I think that that's a dangerous precedent to set.
And that means they'll go somewhere else, right?
And then they're gonna go 3 miles that way and be out
Where?
of city limits and build it anyway. So,
Well, sometimes that's not a bad idea.
agree to disagree, how about that?
Yeah.
No hard feelings at all,
Yeah.
but,
Next.
yep. So I will conclude my comments. And I want to thank the Madam City Attorney and the Planner and Director of Public Works, I think I got that title right, for all their great input. It's exciting to hear that some of those sewer projects are going forward and we got approval for the wetlands. So that's exciting to hear. Thank you.
Well, my comments tonight is, we followed code, but we did the very wrong thing. We followed code. I know that there were people in this room that were against this project, but I listened to the demeanor of the civil engineer and the applicant, and he was very flippant that he could do anything there, as long as he followed the code. I had to change my mind only because, following what Mr. Stafford said, our code allows it, and that's wrong. And it's not gonna be next week that we fix this either. It's gonna take a while. I'm really curious to see how long this is gonna remain luxury. I held my nose and voted yes, but it was absolutely wrong what we did tonight. And I apologize for all the confusion, and we got there though. We made it, but it was a rough one. But I'm really upset that we approved this, because it's not gonna be what it was presented tonight 10 years from now. It's not gonna be.
Even 5.
And it might even be less than that. So those are my comments.
Can I add to my comments? I hope the residents that were here tonight, this is the first time we've had that many people here. I hope they take it to heart to understand this is their city. They've got to get involved. They can go to the council and say, this is unacceptable, get it changed now.
Now is usually a year and a half.
Move for an adjournment.
No way.
Can I share a comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've done everything wrong tonight. Let's do some more.
Planning clerk through the chair, I just wanted to share that today is kind of a special day for me because it's my 1-year anniversary working with the City of Wasilla Planning Department. And boy, has it been a wild ride.
Congratulations.
But it's been exciting. It's nearly killed me some days, and I love it.
I tried my
And
best.
I love city planning, and I love the City of Wasilla, and I'm grateful for all of you guys.
And you didn't bring donuts?
Well, congratulations.
Celebrate?
If she'd have squealed, I would have brought donuts. With no further business at hand, I'm adjourning this meeting unless an objection is raised. Seeing no
I'd
objection.
like to note that we went
Commissioner
longer than
Brown,
last
shut.
night's city council meeting.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Hearing no objection.